Sports fans, we're about to break in here with the debate midway through. I don't know how long you can do this. So this is more of an experimental thing with some light commentary from myself, and we'll see how fair the CNN thing is or not. Let's go ahead and cut in.
Much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before. And we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas
Not sure
right
if
under
that'll
our
go
feet.
away or not, but that's
we were
fine.
going to have something that nobody else has had.
Fair use.
We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had large.
He's live on CNN.
More people died under his administration
multicast,
than
whatever,
our administration,
on
and we were right
CBS
in the
as well.
middle of it. Something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer
comment,
respected
subscribe.
as a country.
I'm
they don't
on
respect our leadership.
YouTube,
they don't respect the
SofaKingJewish on
United
YouTube.
States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent. All of the things he's done, we've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
I can't believe CNN's rules about this
whole immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity
election
to
belongs
respond
to the
this
people.
question about the national debt.
Not fucking you.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24% or 25%, either one of those
tax plans are
we'd
way
raise
different.
$500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out
Biden's
his debt.
sticking to that 400K
make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything.
I don't know if you can hear it out there, but his voice is like really soft. It's gotten a little bit better since we've started.
We finally beat
but it was
Medicare.
really
Thank
soft,
you,
like old man
President
soft.
Trump.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence, and it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people, they cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them
I'm so small on
everything they
YouTube,
want,
I don't
and
think I'll get hit with anything.
They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency
Trump's
abortion
answer is going to be for the states.
Idaho,
and then
that state's
Biden's answer is going to be that it's Trump's
Former
fault
President
and he'll
Trump,
do a federal ban.
You take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills.
Record this.
They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, You had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back.
See, the Democrats could have codified
and what I did
Roe v.
is I
Wade.
put three great
They
Supreme Court
control the
justices
government,
on the court,
all three branches,
and they happened to vote in
times.
favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states.
Twitter
This is
got faked.
something that everybody wanted.
Anyway,
Now, 10
three
years
times
ago or
they
so,
didn't
they
have
started
it.
talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar,
They didn't
throughout
codify
the
it.
world,
Codify it.
the most respected,
They had
wanted
three
it brought
chances,
back to
three
the states. I
opportunities.
did that. Now the states are
Where they
working it
controlled
out.
the
If you look at Ohio,
Congress,
it was a decision that
the
was
Senate.
it was an end result that was a little
And they
bit
didn't
more
do it.
liberal than you would have thought.
They use it for
Kansas, I
fundraising
would
and
say the
sloganeering.
same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided, supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in, they talk about that. But here's the deal: there's a lot of young women being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses.
I don't know how to put it in words, but he sounds so soft.
It's just ridiculous.
I'm not being insulting.
About it. And they try to arrest him when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women
Not being insulting.
murdered
He's
by
really
the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world.
These two old
Considered the
farts.
most
I'm reading that.
dangerous place anywhere in the world.
How long ago?
And
Oh, that
he
was a few
opened
minutes
it up,
ago.
and these killers are coming into
Wisco
our
weirdo.
country,
You know what?
and they are raping and
Put that on
killing women. And it's a
it
terrible
on there.
thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting.
Wisco
in many cases,
weirdo.
It's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the
Yeah.
opposite.
I'm not
But
going
they're
to
voting,
do
and
this.
it's
I'm
bringing
not
it
going to
back
do
the
that.
vote of the
I'm not
people,
going
which is what
It's just not
everybody
going to try to die up on
including the
stage.
founders,
This
if
is the
they
best
knew
we
about
can
this
do.
issue,
These
which,
two old
frankly,
farts.
they didn't.
Yeah.
But they would
Trump
have, if
sounds
everybody wanted
and looks
brought back,
better.
Ronald Reagan wanted it.
Biden
brought
looks
back,
fine,
he
I
wasn't able to
suppose.
get it.
I mean, especially
Everybody
except for
wanted
like
it
when he
brought
kind of
back,
does
and
the
many presidents
weeble
had
wobble
tried to get
thing.
it back. I was the one to do
But
it.
he
And again,
sounds
this gives it
really-
the vote of the people, and that's
It
where they
doesn't
wanted
sound
it.
like
Every
normal
legal
Biden that I've
scholar wanted
heard
it
that
that
I'm
way.
used to, I suppose.
Staying on the topic of
It
abortion,
just sounds
President
really,
Biden, 7
really
states.
soft,
I'll let you
like
do that.
whispery, kind
This
of
is
like
the same topic. 7 states
your
have
grandma,
no
your
legal
great grandma, or
restrictions
grandpa would do.
on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor.
Oh yeah, he is 80,
I mean,
80 years
the
old. Well,
woman and the state.
Trump isn't quite
The
80, but
idea
he's
that the
79. Same.
politicians- that the founders wanted
Biden
the
is 80
politicians
for sure.
to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
No, you're not.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month
Such
and even
bullshit.
after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take
Democrats
it after
will
birth.
not restore
Again,
shit.
the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide
What, it
what
only
to do
took you
with
49
it.
years?
So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. That Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period, period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have
It's replaced with AI.
abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want.
Maybe.
We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals.
I wonder,
not the Republicans.
you know,
51
I'm not
years
going to
that was
definitely,
wrong.
I'm not going to
51
necessarily
years
jump into
Constitutional
that
Scholars
arena
said it was the
that
right
he
way
was
to go.
drugged up. I think that's a
51
little bit
years,
much.
And it was taken away because this guy
But-
was very conservative members on
I
the
mean,
Supreme
he's 80
Court.
years old.
He takes credit
80.
for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? In fact,
See, now he sounds
if
more
the
normal Biden.
MAGA Republicans,
When he gets,
elected,
the thing with
and the
Biden
MAGA
is he gets a
Republicans
lot
control
more
the Congress,
rascally when
and they
he
pass
gets
a
worked up.
universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10
He
weeks,
gets,
something very, very conservative.
when he gets wound up,
Is
he
gonna
gets a
sign
little
that
bit
bill?
more
I'll veto
coherent.
it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming
First
border
3
states
years that you
and
had full
overburdening
control
cities
over,
such as New York and
Mr.
Chicago, and in
Biden,
some cases causing real
that was
safety
you.
and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard
Because
to
you
get
just
a
started to copy
bipartisan
Trump.
agreement that not only
Trump's old policies.
changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where
Fucker was sitting
you
on
had
that power the
no
whole time.
circumstance where they could come across the border.
In
with the
my
number of
opinion.
border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. Significantly, by the way, the Border Patrol endorsed me, endorsed my
Asylum
position.
is the
In
problem.
addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where, when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's
Yeah, I
not the
agree,
right way to
Wisco
go.
Weirdo.
What I've done
That's
since
what I
I've
just
changed the
observed. Yeah,
law,
he's
what happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border legally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
try to
I
refresh
really don't know
this
what
chat.
he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental
Why it doesn't
institutions,
show that?
insane asylum, terrorists.
chat.
They're the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now. All terrorists, all over the world, not just in
We'll
South
monitor it and
America,
we'll come
all
back
over
to
the
it.
world. They come from
Nope,
the Middle East,
that'd be big.
everywhere, all over the
big.
world. They're pouring in, and this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that. He endorsed me for president.
Wisco, are you talking
Brandon,
about
just
what
keep doing it.
Biden did
But
or what
look,
Trump did?
We had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in
Thank you,
caravans.
President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in his administration, killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea
What are you
emptying the
talking
prisons,
about?
we're welcoming these people. That's simply not true. There's no data to support what he says. Once again, he's exaggerating. He's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of
Yeah, we'll
immigration,
both the,
you
chat
said that
again
you're
here.
going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history,
I wish this
unquote.
thing would let
Does
me
that mean that you
scroll
will
the
deport
chat.
every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose
Well, I'll put it up
spouses
here on the
are
screen.
citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you
setting
do
it.
it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying, and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat nest.
What are you doing,
They're killing
Biden?
our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union.
You
because
saw
we don't
like
have
this
borders
faraway
anymore.
fucking.
Every state is now a border. And because of
Like if
his
there weren't
ridiculous,
something in front of him, he would have
insane,
waddled
and very
off.
stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our
He
citizens
kind of looks
at a level that we've
confused.
never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days.
Oh,
One of
they're
them, I
awful.
just spoke to the mother, and he just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken
Biden.
place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now.
Well,
He doesn't want it to be.
Biden
He
and
just
company,
doesn't know.
their
He
attack
opened the
line
borders.
is,
Nobody's
well,
ever seen anything
Trump
like it.
told
And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look
to
at
not
where they're
vote.
living.
He also said
They're
the same
living
thing
in
to
luxury
McConnell is the thing,
hotels
is their talking
in New
point.
York City and other places.
That was like
Our
6
veterans
months
are
ago
in the
when
street.
that
They're
whole
dying
thing
because he
kicked off.
doesn't care about
Maybe a
our
little bit
veterans. He
longer.
doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all, and he doesn't care about our veterans.
That was
Nobody's
the
been worse. I had
when
the
Biden
highest approval
he
rating for
needed
veterans
Congress
taking
to
care of
pass
the
a new
VA.
bill
He has the worst. He's gotten rid of
to
all
control
the things that
the
I
border.
approved, choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved.
Which I'm saying
We
is
had
bullshit.
by far the highest,
Because you
and
go
now
back
it's down in
from
less
there.
than half.
What
Because he
about
said
the
all these
first
great
36
things that we
months of
did,
your
and I think he did it just because I
your,
approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border
I'll
by
put you up
allowing
here,
all of these people to
Wisco.
come in.
It's not about the
President
people
Biden.
who are
Very sad
registered to
day
vote.
in America.
President
The
Biden,
Dems
you
will
have
get
the
more
mic.
seats in
single thing
Congress
he said is
based
a
on
lie.
population numbers.
Every single one. For example,
Yeah,
veterans are a hell of a
yeah,
lot
that's
better
how
off
the
since they
census works.
passed the
Yes.
PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance.
But the thing
and
is, though,
families
that they
have it.
don't end up voting
Their
for
families have
Democrats
it because
necessarily.
what happened, whether it was
If they
Agent
even
Orange
attempt to
or
vote.
burn pits,
I mean,
they're all being
California
covered now.
and New
he
York
opposed
have
his
done some
group
outrageous
opposed that.
fucking laws that
We're
have
also in a
been
situation where
tossed out in the
we have
courts,
great respect
hopefully,
for veterans. My
where
son
they
spent a
let
year in Iraq.
illegal
living right
immigrants,
next to one of those burn pits, came
aliens
back with
vote.
stage 4 glioblastoma.
Just bullshit.
I was recently in
Only U.S. citizens.
in France for D-Day.
But I
and
see what you're saying. I
spoke
see what you're
all
saying.
about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery. He refused to go.
Oh,
to.
here comes his
He was
attack line.
standing
Here,
with his
Biden's
4-star
attack line
general,
about how Trump
and he told me
said
"Flat,
all
I
the
don't wanna
veterans
go in
are
there because
losers.
They're a bunch of losers and suckers.
Yeah, there we
My
go.
son was not a loser. Was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have.
He looks like he's about ready to throw a punch. Biden does. He looks like he's about ready to throw a
We have
punch.
19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking, the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russian
19 Nobel
disinformation. It
laureate
wasn't. That
prize
came from
winners
his son,
say that
Hunter.
Trump will wreck the
It wasn't
economy.
Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize
Ridiculous.
to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea, that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home.
All right, Wisco, let's put your thing up there.
That's what
the Dems get to hold on to their positions and add more. Look at the next 10 years. No, I don't deny what you're saying.
All right, thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which
That's why
is now in its
some
third year.
Some
Former
states, the
President
GOP
Trump,
fights so hard for
President Vladimir Putin says
redistricting.
he'll only end
Either
this war
either
if
they,
Russia
both
keeps
parties
the
do this.
Ukrainian territory
They
it has
redraw the
already
maps as
claimed,
more beneficial to
and
them
Ukraine
when they can,
abandons
or they
its
try
bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
Oh, this should
First
be
of all,
interesting.
our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him.
That's a true statement.
They can't stand him.
I would believe it.
Let's
I was
get
a
that
veteran.
straight.
I can't speak
And they
for the
like
current
me more than
military
just
members
about
now,
any
but
of them. And that's based
there's a
on
lot of
every
people,
single bit of
veterans,
information.
military don't like
As far
him.
as Russia
Biden.
and Ukraine, if we had a real president, a president that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned, and so he's got no love lost, but he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too.
Trump is not going to let Biden let go of Afghanistan.
He said, "You know what? I think we're
he's right too. I mean, he's right to press him on it.
This was his dream. I talked to him about
his watch.
His dream.
It's a fucking disaster.
He never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror.
I do think that on a foreign policy scale, Donald Trump does way better to contain Iran than fucking Joe Biden, in my opinion.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much.
Hands down. Hands fucking down.
The matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president, they attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did.
Then why was the Trump administration the first one to give arms to Ukraine?
He was going to take Kyiv
Mr. Biden.
5 days, remember?
Why did Trump do that?
Part of the old Soviet Union.
That's what Trump did.
That's what he wanted to reestablish.
Obama didn't do that.
And he,
Donald Trump did that.
Didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done, and they've lost over.
And if you're just joining us here, we're covering the debate.
President Trump,
I never said that.
For 1 minute.
Very vacillating Joe Biden, who is very soft-spoken. He seems to be awake. He seems to be more angry. I think it's a common perception that Joe Biden does a lot better when he's angry.
If we had a leader in this war,
when he's fired up,
he led everybody along.
But if you could comment, like, subscribe, I see you, Wisco. I appreciate you watching with us.
That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it.
If you're finding this on Twitter, it'd be great if you could follow me on the account up there.
And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything.
_Ink
the money
on
that
Twitter.
we're spending.
SofaKingJewish on YouTube.
And we shouldn't be spending.
I have a Substack.
I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky
ApeIt.Ink.
as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled.
Not necessarily all politics or current events. It's kind of a little bit of everything.
So stupidly. And I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
Let's pop up here. Joe Biden doesn't know what Wisco weirdo. I love your name. That's awesome. Joe Biden doesn't know what is going on day to day. So how can his foreign policy be any good? Agree. Many fellow Americans would also agree with you.
That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there?
Yep.
Do you think
it is good to be a smaller channel?
If he takes Ukraine?
I really doubt that I'll get hit with a copyright strike. If I did, oh well, it's not like I'm making money off of it. This is just for fun anyway. I also do a more lighthearted nerd thing called The First, The Last Nerdom on YouTube.
All that money we give you.
We're there. My partner, co-host, is also
not the money at this point.
Good brains behind the operation.
Produced as much funding for Ukraine.
I doubt. I don't know. Something happened with my Twitter account.
That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving
I just
on to
paid
the
for a
Middle
year of Premium
in
Plus.
October, Hamas
and then they slapped me with a
killing more than 1,000 people and
temporary
taking
label
hundreds
to
of
my account,
hostages.
which may impact its
Among
reach.
those held and thought to still be alive.
I mean, I don't know that I had I didn't have any reach before then
Israel's
anyway.
response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden
88. They
put
are
forward
definitely
a
restricting me
proposal to resolve this
on
conflict.
Twitter, I think.
But so far, Hamas has not
Definitely
released
think that.
the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one,
Reviews. All right.
everyone from the
So,
United Nations
okay,
Security
93.
Security
So then I have like 2
Council,
people
straight through the
watching me on
G7,
YouTube.
to the
which is
Israelis, and
fine.
Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan.
It's just
I
for
put
fun,
forward.
if anything.
Endorsed the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it.
Build the
The
footprint.
first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions.
Yeah, there's not going to be any.
Third
Yeah, you know
phase
what?
is
Let
no,
Biden
the
talk
end of
about
the
the
war.
ceasefire.
The only one who wants
The
the war to
Democrats are
continue
eating
is
shit.
Hamas, number one.
Bowman
They're
just
the only
got
ones standing up.
he
We're
just
still
got kicked
pushing
out
hard to get
on
them to
his
accept
primary
the lead
election,
time.
and the moderate
What's
won.
happened in
Next is
Israel,
Cori
we're trying to
Bush here
keep- the only
in
thing
St.
I've
Louis.
denied Israel was 2,000
Her ass
pound
is getting
bombs.
kicked to the
They
curb.
don't work very well in
The last
populated
poll I
areas. They
saw
kill
was
a lot of
Wesley
innocent
Bell,
people.
who was
We're
also
providing
the
Israel with all the weapons they need and when they
equivalent
need
of
them.
a
And by
DA
the
for
way,
the county
I'm the guy that
of St. Louis,
organized the world against
and
Iran when they had
he
a
is well
full-blown
liked.
intercontinental
He replaced Bob
ballistic
McCullough.
missile attack on Israel.
Little local
No one was
St.
hurt.
Louis, Missouri
No
history there.
one Israeli was accidentally killed.
Anyway, Cori Bush is going to get
And
stomped.
it's stopped.
Wesley Bell is
We
like
saved
22 points
Israel.
ahead of her
We
the
are
last poll I
biggest
saw,
producer
but I did research
of
on.
support for Israel of anyone in the world.
Which absolutely,
And so that's-
Cori Bush
they're
is a
two
piece of
different
shit.
things. Hamas
Horrible,
cannot
horrible
be
representative.
allowed to be continued. We continue to send
And it's
our
because of
experts
the
and our
Israel-Gaza
intelligence
thing.
as to how they can
Because
get Hamas
progressives
like we
are
did
so
Bin Laden.
anti-Semitic, it's not
We
even
don't
fucking
have to
funny.
do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas.
Illa
Greatly
and
weakened,
Omar,
they should be. They should be eliminated.
Rashida Tlaib.
But you've got to be careful for what using certain weapons among population centers.
We'll never interrupt them. Let them be anti-Jewish,
Going back to Ukraine for
anti-Israeli.
1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent $100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting all. You got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job.
I
He
agree.
doesn't want to do it. He's become like a
That's America.
Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
Joe Biden has not done enough for Israel.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big
Strategic
ocean. We're able to
ambiguity.
avoid a war
That's what that
in
is.
Europe, a major war in Europe. What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine.
Because you're controlling the game, Biden?
See what happens
Because you're controlling the
He has
game?
no idea what the hell he's talking
So,
about.
well,
And by the way, I got 50 other
you really got
nations
Russia
around
on a
the
leash,
world
bud.
to support Ukraine, including Japan,
Fucking idiot.
and South Korea.
Fuck
because
Ukraine.
they understand that this.
I'm
this-
sorry
this
that
kind of
they were
dislocation
invaded. That's not
has
cool.
a serious threat to
But
the whole world peace.
What they've done to
no
Western
major
press,
war in Europe has ever
they
been
put them
able
on
to
kill
contend
lists.
just to Europe.
And it's not just, it's European
President Trump, just to
people
follow up,
just reporting
would you
stuff.
support the creation of an independent Palestinian
American
state
journalists
in order
have
to
died
achieve
in their
peace
prisons
the region?
because they
I'd
were
have to see, but before we do
doing
that,
what they were doing.
the problem
There
we
is
have
no such thing
is
as
that we
free
spend
speech
all
in
the money.
Ukraine.
So they kill us.
Why
on
we
trade.
would go
I've made
so
great
long
trade
to
deals
help
with the
Ukraine is
European
beyond
nations.
me. I don't understand.
Because
that
if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, no. They don't want anything that we have. But we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question, would you guard us against Russia, at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time. And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President
Interesting.
Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world.
I agree. It was
all over the world we were respected.
It was a riot.
And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States?
If the Democrats really thought
this
that
man's leadership
Donald Trump
is
committed
horrible,
treason,
including weaponization, which I'm sure
they
at
would
some
have
point you'll be talking
immediately
about, where
filed
he goes
federal
after his political
charges
opponent 'cause
for
he can't beat
such,
him fair and square.
like the January
You
6th
have 80
dog and
seconds
pony
left.
show the
My
Democrats
question was,
did.
what do you say to those
Spent
voters
millions
who
of
believe that
dollars
you
on
violated
to
your
say that Trump was
constitutional oath
da-da-da-da-da.
for your actions and inaction on
It
January
was
6,
bullshit.
2021?
You're absolutely
and
fucking
worry
right.
that
We
you'll do it
agree
again?
on this
Well, I
fucking
didn't
point for
say
sure.
that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the
They had
news from
the
2 days
Democrats
ago,
had years
on tape to
to
her
go after
daughter, who
Trump
is a
and get him
documentary
convicted for
filmmaker,
something
as
that
they
would
say.
have been very
But she's
serious
saying, oh,
to prevent
no,
him
it's
from
my
running or to really
responsibility. I was
hinder him.
responsible
Instead,
for
they
this.
went for this
'Cause
little
I offered her 10,000
piecemeal
soldiers or
bullshit.
National Guard, and she turned
Lawfare.
them down. And the mayor of, in writing, by the way, the mayor.
You know the Democrats were not serious about it and was all rhetoric
They turned it down.
about insurrection and treason and all that
I
bullshit.
could see.
They had the chance to
virtually
charge
nothing to do. They
Donald
asked me
Trump
to go
for
make a speech.
treason,
I could see
insurrection,
what was happening. Everybody
criminal
was saying they're
charges.
going to be there on
The
January
January
6th.
6th
They're gonna
committee
be there.
that they
and I said, you
did
know what? There's a lot of
said
people
that.
coming. You could feel it.
They
You
recommended
could
that was
feel it
point
too,
4
and you
on
could
their
feel it.
things that
And
they
I said,
recommended.
they ought to have some
What did
National
the
Guard or
Biden
whatever.
DOJ
And I
do?
offered it to her, and she now admits
They
that
didn't file
she turned it
charges
down.
of
and it was the
federal
same day she
federal
was,
charges for
I don't know,
insurrection,
she can't be very
for treason.
happy with her daughter because it made her into a
Excuse me,
liar.
insurrection.
She said, I take full
They didn't do that.
responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off
Where's your
the
court
office.
Where's your court
for
case that
3
says
hours.
that?
3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number
Oh, but
of
you can let
colleagues
New
on the
York go after
Republican
him.
side as well, to do something, to call for a stop, to end
Which
it.
is whatever.
Instead, he talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. He went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said, no, this guy.
We got
guy is
Wisco
responsible
Weirdo.
for
What
doing
they did to
was
Trump is
done.
what the
He didn't do a
CIA
damn
does to
thing.
countries that are
And these people should be
anti-American.
in
They
jail.
stack the
And they
charges for
should be the ones
ADBS.
that are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all
That
out.
is
And now he
a
says that he loses
observation
again, such a whiner that he is.
that
That
has
will be a bloodbath.
factual
Thank you,
support
President
in
Biden.
reality.
President Trump?
What they've
The
done to
harder the
some
Democrats
people
have
that
gone
are
after
so
Trump,
innocent, you ought to be ashamed
the
of
more it's
yourself.
backfired
what you have
on
done,
them.
how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over.
Yeah, I'm not
going
going to say that it's the CIA.
I was all set
I'm not
to
going
bring
to go
in
that
the
far.
National Guard. They heard that.
I don't
They
need to
saw
go
them
that far
coming, and
because
they
you have
left
a loose
immediately.
coalition of
What he
Democrats
said about this whole subject
in Georgia
is
and New
so
York,
off. Peacefully patriotic.
and you have
One
the
other thing,
special counsel at the federal level, the DOJ,
Unselect Committee,
prosecuting
which
him.
is basically two horrible Republicans.
And then
that
you
are
had
all
the civil
gone now
cases
out
with
of
the
office,
Eugene,
and Democrats, all Democrats.
whatever.
They destroyed and deleted all of the information.
And the New
they
York
found
one,
because they
too,
found
for the
out we
business.
were right. We were right. And they
didn't
deleted
need the
and
CIA to do
destroyed all
shit.
of the information. They should go.
They already were
jail
doing
for
it
that.
themselves.
If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President
But
Biden,
I know
wanna
what
give
you're
you a minute.
saying.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
All three-letter
And the fact
agencies
of the
are in on
matter
it.
is,
Maybe
he
they
is-
are. I don't have any
what he's
evidence
telling you
that
is
they are.
simply not true. The fact is
It
that
kind of doesn't matter
there was
because
no
it's
effort on
backfiring
his
on them.
part to to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those was convicted.
Your poll numbers show it. Like, I just saw a poll earlier today.
Didn't kill somebody.
Which I shared on my.
Broke down doors.
I don't think I shared it on Twitter.
Occupied offices. Turned over.
I shared it when I was talking to Valiant Renegade.
Over statues. The idea.
Or not talking to him, but replying to him, I should say.
Come on.
Give the wrong impression. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. I'm a fucking nobody.
We had first time around. I said, will you
in the New York Times seeing a poll.
He said, no, I'll tell them to stand
Trump
by.
is up 2.6.
The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people?
In the Quinnipiac poll.
Denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
Quinnipiac. From June 20 to June 24.
President Trump, for a follow-up question I have.
With a margin of error of 2.6, I guess.
34 felonies last month. You said if reelected,
Trump is up
quote,
by 6.
Have every right to go after, unquote,
he's up by
political
6
opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country
excuse me, I read that wrong. I did the RCP average. Sorry, New York
My retribution is going to be success.
But
when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted
Trump,
felon at a very high level. His son
Trump is up by
He's going to be convicted probably numerous other times.
+3 in the New York Times one, and +6 in the Quinnipiac.
Statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one.
No.
Number
you're
two,
a fuck up.
The idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before.
Fuck you. You just spoke like that, Biden.
The crimes that you are still charged with. And think of all the civil penalties you have.
You are peddling that if Donald Trump gets elected, you're saying that democracy as we know it will be no more. That's what you say.
Having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant. I mean,
the Dems are going to rig it. Maybe.
You have the morals of an alley cat.
Let them try. Let them fucking rig all they want.
Number one. Number
They're
two,
playing all the
dirty,
all the cheap tricks, all the things. I'm not saying the GOP doesn't do that. They did that. They've done that too. But today, it's a whole other fucking level.
That case is going to be appealed and won.
It's a whole other scale.
We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal.
If Biden was actually the bipartisan dude that he claims, he would have put pressure on Kathy Hochul to pardon Donald Trump for that stupid felony conviction that they just did. That's what a bipartisan president would do. And then it would make Trump look very petty for not accepting it with grace. And then the Democrats would really look like that. That would put a fire on, that would throw a bunch of water on Trump's
because the public knows it's a scam and it's a guy
but
that's
they can't do that.
Opponent because
they're motivated by just as much retaliation as what Biden is accusing Trump of.
Just quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes.
Oh, did you fucking?
And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases.
Did you see what he just fucking said?
He's got a whole range of.
He just tripled down on that. If you vote for Trump, he said you are a traitor.
Could you ever think you heard any president say that
I'll
I'm
calm
no
down here.
secret
Biden
Jewish.
is like the old
Never
man
hear
on
the
Family Guy
president
that
say
says, "Don't forget to
they thought
stretch out
Hitler had
those."
some good ideas. What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died
He does kind of.
in Iraq
He
because
does
of
kind of
Iraq,
sound like
I said
Herbert.
I wasn't going to run again.
I think that's
until
a
I
character
saw
name.
what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic.
Oh, here he's just going to propagate the same old fucking myth that he's
back in Germany. And
yeah.
And the young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother, and
I needed a fucking beer to watch this fucking
what
train
do you think of those people?
Swallow this horse
The
shit.
ones that got killed, the one who tried to
So
stop
if
and the one
let's
who
just
said,
say that I
think
don't want to
they're
vote for
people
Donald
on
Trump,
both sides.
and I abstain.
What American
If I abstain for voting for either one of these
say,
people,
Nazis
does that
coming
make
out of
me
fields
a
carrying
traitor
torches,
too because I didn't vote for Joe Biden?
Same anti-Semitic bile.
Herbert, that's
Carrying
right.
swastikas.
So I just want to just think about that for a
This is the
second.
guy who says
Let's just say
Hitler's
that
done
you
some
don't
good
want to
things.
vote for Trump
I'd like
or
to know what
Biden,
they are.
and you abstain
Good
on the
things Hitler's
on
done,
the
that's what he
presidential.
says.
You just like, who
This guy
cares?
has no sense.
But you vote for all your other local people,
President
which
Trump.
is what I'm tempted
Jake,
to do
both
sometimes.
of you know
I'll be
that
honest.
story has been totally
If I
out, because
don't
when you
vote
see the
or if I
sentence,
vote for
it
Trump,
said
I'm a traitor.
100%
Is what he fucking said.
exoneration on that.
Biden
So he
said.
just keeps it going. He says he ran because
Fuck
of
you.
Charlottesville.
Fuck you and
He
your
didn't run
one
because
party
of
rule, you
Charlottesville.
piece of shit.
He ran because it was his
All right,
last
I
chance.
gotta chill out.
He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every anchor every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day, it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential
All right, I'm
debate.
back here. Well, while they go to break, I'm gonna promote my socials here. Not that one. Yeah, that's better. All right, it is. I'm gonna mute this too because it's in my ear. It's really loud. All right. I need to switch it up. Share my window. Workspace 8. Here we go. All right, that's good. All right, I'll make this a little bit more normal. Oop, wrong window, wrong corner. Not the top half of the thing. I don't know how to. Oh, all right, there we go. Much better. Okay. If you joined all 98 people or so, and a few of you on YouTube, Wisco. Let me go to Wisco here to chat. See if the chat's still out there. Herbert. Yeah, yeah, but he was just joking that Biden sounded like Herbert. Well, there's a commercial break. I think there's only 2 of them, so it looks like we're like a third, maybe halfway, 40% way through. I'm not really paying attention to time. So 90 minutes. So we're a little bit, not too far away. If you could follow me, that's my actual feed. My channel, SofaKingJewish on YouTube. I do commentary, current events. I also write on my website, Substack, ApeIt.Ink. ApeIt.Ink. And I just covered the progressives and why the progressives, the more that they do the progressive thing and do the Palestinian, pro-Palestinian, and anti-Israeli, and do all that stuff from the college one all the way out to like every other weekend, like where some jackasses in pro-Hamas bullshit prevent Jews from going to a temple. Keep doing that. Keep doing that, Democrats. Cori Bush, you're up next. You for sure are going to get nuked, for sure. I don't know how many of these are. I know Bowman lost his primary. I think I can't think of the dude's name. Starts with an L. I wouldn't hazard a guess. It'll be wrong. But Cori Bush, right here, Missouri, she's on her way out. Also did I made fun of the if you're familiar on the side of the Acolyte or whatever lighter side of life a little bit with Star Wars, and we'll get back to the proceedings here in a minute. Amandla Stenberg, F Your Discourse parody music video. I have out now on YouTube. I did a live one and then I did a short. I think it's up to 6K. That's like my third YouTube short, so that's cool. It kind of took off a life of its own. Still learning the socials. But anyway, I'm going to get back to the, they're just now getting back to it. So let me arrange my windows here and then we'll cut back in to the proceedings here. But if you could like, comment, subscribe, find me on Substack. If you could throw your email in there, you want to see the weekly thing. I don't really do too many. I write a few times a week, maybe. Some weeks I don't really write anything if there's nothing to say. I need to get better at it. And let me go ahead and kill that one, and I will replace it with the TV here, and then I'll bring in the sound.
Who are
see what's going on here.
That you haven't made more progress.
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one.
Change it up a little bit.
The fact of the matter is there's more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black
latest one,
the lowest level it's been in a long, long time.
Just a minute ago from
three,
Wisco Weirdo. I am not against being progressive. There's got to be some common sense. I agree. Look, there are a lot of things that the progressives have great ideas for. Implementing them is a far different conversation. But then they go too far. They're probably right about maybe 5 to 15% of things on paper, maybe. Things that are really truly bipartisan, things like healthcare, that's one. Some things like that.
When we did the first major piece of
I don't have any answers. I'm just saying, like,
I was able to reduce.
You're absolutely right. Progressives have a spot, but when they do ignorant shit and they don't control their people, and then they amp up the rhetoric against Jews and Israel.
Increase economic growth because more people can be in the job.
Unfortunately, we can't have a nuanced discussion when it comes to funding Israel. When we have this guy in office,
so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
Who fucks around.
49 seconds left. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family first-time home buyer should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those black families and those black individuals who provided had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they
you want more credit for the student loan thing, huh?
Doctor, and anything having to do with volunteers.
Oh, beds are wearing off.
They paid their bills for 10
What do you say,
years
Wisco?
on their student debt. All the rest was forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad.
Get him to say that he had 9% inflation when he came in office. Biden did.
It's killing people.
That's a lie.
They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people
my count
is
is
the
throttled
millions
on
of people
Twitter.
that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be.
I mean,
18,
would it really matter?
It could be
Since
19
I'm such
and
a
even
small
20
nobody
million
account?
people.
No, I don't
they're
think
taking
so.
black jobs and they're taking
I don't know.
Hispanic
I don't know.
jobs,
I got
and you haven't
1,000. I
seen
got
it
over
yet,
1,000
but you're
views when I
gonna see
covered the
something
Moscow
that's gonna be
shootings.
the worst in
That
our
was on
history.
Twitter when it
Thank
was
you.
fucking
President
free.
Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know
Like you
why?
pay for something, the worse it is.
Flat
The
on
worse
its
it gets.
back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy. Absolutely decimated the economy.
He didn't do
That's why
shit.
there
That was
no
COVID. You
at the
fucking
time.
retard.
There were no jobs. We provided thousands
All those
of
jobs
millions
came
of
back. You
jobs for
fucking retard.
individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities.
Fuck
We
you.
made sure
You're so
that they have health insurance.
fucking
We
lies,
have
lies,
covered- the
lies,
ACA has
lies.
been
No
approved. I made
context.
sure that they're $8,000 per person.
They say,
and
look at
family
this thing, and they don't
get
talk about the
written
other
off
10
in
things
healthcare.
before that.
But this
That
guy
call-
wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the
Fuck
ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. We find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing any
Bullshit.
We put more police on the street
Bullshit.
than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on.
Motherfucker, you're the one with the DEI
caused
hire in the
by
VP
his
office.
Tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another
Fucking
persistent
idiot.
challenge
Fuck you.
is
All
the
that
climate crisis.
Fuck that.
2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating
Here we go,
effects
climate
of extreme
change.
heat, intensifying wildfires,
The sun
stronger
is hot.
hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump,
Science-
you've vowed
scientists
to end
say
your opponent's
all heat
climate
comes from the
initiatives,
sun.
But will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every
Trump
police
does
group.
have quite a big
And what he's
cut
done to
of
the black population is horrible, including
of,
the fact that
law
for 10 years he
enforcement
called them super
organizations
predators. We can't,
across-
in the 1990s, we can't forget
across
that.
the thing.
Super predators was his name, and he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs. And it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
Trump doesn't need to get
38
50%
seconds
of the
left.
African
President
American,
Trump,
the black
will you
vote.
take any action as president?
The only thing
slow
Trump
the
has to
climate
do
crisis?
So I
is-
want
is
absolutely immaculate clean
overperform
water,
on the
and I
typical
want
GOP
absolutely
take
clean
of-
air, and we had it.
of the black
We had H2O.
community.
We had the best numbers ever, and we
He doesn't
did-
have to win
We were using all forms
every
of
little
energy,
bit, and
all
then
forms,
a little bit
everything.
more on
And yet,
other
during
typical
my 4 years, I had
demographics
the
to vote
best
Democrat.
environmental numbers.
He doesn't
ever.
have to
And
ring
my
the
top
bell in
environmental
every
people gave
category.
me that statistic just before I walked
He just
on
has
the
to get
stage,
enough to
actually.
take away from Biden.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $15 billion for
you killed a
HBCUs,
pipeline.
historic black universities and colleges.
And
Because
made
they
a
don't
whole
have
segment of the
they
market
don't have the
of
kind
America,
contributors
domestic
that
oils,
they
like
have to
the enemy.
build these laboratories and the like.
Until
Any
you
black
turn the
student is
spigot back
capable in
on.
college of doing any white student can do. They just have the money, but now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord.
Yeah,
I
it's a
immediately
bullshit
joined it,
fucking
because
accord.
If we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point where there's no way back, the only existential threat to humanity is climate change.
Who gives a shit?
And he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
the Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was
Ridiculous.
a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to, the United States can't get its under control? One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half.
Well, I'm sorry, Wisco. I did not scroll down on your chats. Let me bring them back up here.
We set up a climate corps where thousands of young people will learn how to deal with
after the progressive one, you said we're too far left
we're moving in
and too
directions
far
that are
right.
going to significantly change the elements of cause.
How much
pollution.
makeup do you think
But
it took to cover
that he
Biden's liver
that
spots?
He has the biggest heart up here, and he's really concerned about
Inflation comes from proxy wars in Ukraine
about
overseas.
climate.
Yes, it
I've not seen
contributes
any
to it
indication of that.
significantly. That's
By
why
the
we told
way,
Ukraine to
with
knock
regard
off
to prescription drugs,
fucking with Russia's
one
oil
company agreed that
refineries.
they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling
And
for
overseas,
one,
yes.
voluntarily. I made sure every
The
company
whole
in
green
world,
initiative
every
is to gather
pharmaceutical
more
company,
taxes from
do
normal
not
people who are
have to
just
pay.
trying to live their
And by the
normal
way,
lives. Look at the carbon tax in Canada.
So
What
every
it's being
day,
used for.
millions
Yes.
of Americans struggle just to make
Yes.
ends meet.
If
For
you
many
think
older Americans,
the Canadian
Social Security
government
provides a
taxing
critical
your ass
lifeline.
in
President
Canada
Biden, if nothing is done
for
to Social
climate,
Security,
whatever the
seniors
fuck
will
they call
see their
that bullshit,
benefits cut
and it
in
actually
just
is
over
cutting
10
Canada's
years.
emissions,
Will you name tonight one
It's not.
specific step that you're willing to take
It's
to keep
not.
Social Security solvent?
but it's another
yes,
revenue
makes it
center
very
for
welcome
their
again to pay
government.
their fair share.
And that's exactly
Right
what it
now,
would be here down in
everybody
the United
making
States. We would be no different.
$170,000 pays 6%
European countries, they tax
of their
more
income
on that
of
green
their
bullshit.
paycheck every single
Doesn't actually
time
do
they get a
anything.
paycheck
It's
from
just
the time
more
the
revenue
first
for
one
the
they get
government.
when they're 18 years old. The idea
We are
that
more
they're gonna-
green now than
I'm
we
not-
ever.
I've been
Absolutely.
proposing that
Look at our cars.
everybody-
There
that
has
the-
been significant progress.
millionaires
It's
pay
not
1%,
like it's the
1%.
1950s.
So no one after,
and it's like a,
not raise the cost of Social Security
no
for
mufflers
anybody
or exhaust or
over
anything. You know,
$400,000 after that,
they had
began to make the
smog
wealthy
and the
began to pay
and
their
the
fair
cities
share
way
by
back when.
increasing from 1% beyond to be able to
Something went bing or
guarantee the
zing or
program
ding.
for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no,
Tax
that
more
one
people.
enough
That's
will
what
keep
his
it
answer is,
solvent,
more
but
taxes.
The biggest thing he'll do if we defeat this man.
You're damn right,
because he
Wisco.
wants to get rid of
We
Social
are more
Security.
green now.
He thinks
I'm
there's
not
plenty
saying
to
that we
cut
should
Social
have
Security.
smog,
He's wanting to
pollution.
cut Social Security and Medicare.
That's fine.
Both times. And that's what,
There's
and if you look at
reasonable
the
laws and
programs put
regulations
forward
that do help
by the House
the environment and
Republican
keep us
caucus
all
that he
better for it.
supports is in fact.
But go look
going
in
to cut it as
California.
well. The idea that
Bill Maher had
we
an
don't
interview
need
with
to
Adam
protect our
Schiff,
seniors. It's
where Bill
ridiculous.
Maher
We
excoriated
put-
Adam
and by
Schiff
the
on the
way,
local regulations that were
American public
ridiculous,
has
just to
greater
get like
healthcare
a
coverage today than ever before.
solar panels
And
installed on
they see,
Bill
as I
Maher's
said,
thing.
you're
And
in
he
a
said that was like
circumstance
years
where
and years and years ago.
400,000 people, 40 million people would not have
We
insurance.
still
because
air
they have
quality issues,
pre-existing
sure, but
conditions.
they're
Only
getting better
allows them to
than
have
we
that
were. Yes,
insurance
absolutely.
is
Yeah,
the
there
fact
should be reasonable
that they,
things,
in
but not
fact,
to
are
the
part
extent
of
that the
the
Democrats
ACA.
and the
And
progressive
by the
wing
way,
of the
the other
Democrat
thing
Party
is,
want to take
we're
it.
in a situation where we talk about
But also not at the
education
same
for
time, like what the
black communities.
GOP wants
I've
to do, which
raised
is
the
maybe nothing. I
number-
don't know. It's
the
hard.
amount of money for Pell
It's hard to
grants,
find a good
$8,000
GOP
for anybody
representative
making
that
under
can speak to
$70,000 a
climate
year is gonna
change
be able to get
coherently well.
$15,000
The
towards
Democrats have been
tuition.
very good on
He
framing that
just
issue.
got no
Liberals in
idea.
general,
Thank you, President
Hello.
Biden, President Trump.
very
So I've dealt
successful
with
on the climate
politicians
change rhetoric.
all my life. I've been on this side of
Very
the
adaptable.
equation
One
for
of their
the last
rare wins
8
when it
years.
comes to communications and messaging.
I've never
Listen.
seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie.
laptop.
It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military.
Right.
It's a disgrace. But Social Security,
nope.
He's destroying it.
Somehow I turned that off.
Millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street. And these people
I
are
think
living
this
in luxury
performance
hotels.
by Biden tonight is going to make a lot of Democrats nervous.
It's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
I don't, man.
The idea that veterans are not being taken
he hasn't
care
done
of,
terrible.
I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he said he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world.
Is that why?
By the way, those 15 Nobel laureates you talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if
that's interesting that you said that. And Whisker, you said, man, Trump won't let that sucker comment go.
And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted.
Did Trump bring it into the? Did he bring it into the fray?
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent.
I would
in your
totally
second term, what would you do
all
to make child care more affordable?
Because I want him to keep talking about that bullshit.
The general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it
you're
up.
right.
But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him.
And let it go. I agree.
The other thing is,
just let it go.
He doesn't fire people.
Bait him with the J6, bait him with the democracy thing.
I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited
always make sure you have a clean desktop.
He was no good.
So you're not sharing out your...
This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires.
He should
have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border, that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people?
He's a Democrat, but he's a good one.
Many from mental institutions. Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country.
I don't know what
he's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit.
Nope.
A little bit. Like
one of my favorite words.
Insignificant.
Nope.
He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants.
I don't have a problem voting for good Democrats locally.
And I don't think we just can't let it happen.
Locally, you see those people every day, or you run into them.
Not even a chance.
Presumably,
coming out of this rut.
Hopefully,
we probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He's the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden.
Anything wrong with living in a huge city?
Country in the world.
It's not my cup of tea.
The United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world.
I think he's the worst president since Hoover. What,
no
Biden?
One thinks we're weak. No one wants
or Trump.
to go around with us. Nobody.
Biden or Trump, Wisco.
Number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up. Go online.
100%.
159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians. They've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he was doing anything to deal with
the worst president since Hoover.
He did for virtually nothing.
It's Joe R. Biden.
We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the
You want
question
me
was
to
about
prove that
what
Joe
would you do
Biden
to make
is the
child care
worst
more
president
affordable. If you want
ever?
to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have
That's
other
easy.
things.
Look at the polls.
They rate him the worst.
Look at the
Because what
momentum.
he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an
Joe
economy
Biden
like us.
proved it
Nobody
the
ever
very
cut
first,
taxes
his very
like
first
us.
summer in office.
He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's
American
taxes
soldiers
by
died
4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts
because
to
of that.
expire. So everybody, including the
Even
2 of
worse,
you, are going to pay 4 to
people
5 times.
who we
Nobody
relied
ever heard of
on,
this before. All my life, I
Afghanistan
grow up and I
citizens
see
that put
politicians
their life
talking
on the
about
line
cutting
every day
taxes.
for our
When we
troops,
cut taxes,
translators,
as I said,
support
we did
people,
more
all that
business.
shit.
Apple and all these
You know how
companies,
many of those
they
fucking
were
died?
bringing money back into our country.
Ridiculous.
The worst president in history by far, and
Ridiculous.
everybody knows it.
President Biden?
You talk about a betrayal.
Fact of the
It's
matter
fine
is
if we
that
walked
he's
out of
dead wrong
Afghanistan, but
about
there's some people that we owed. In my opinion.
He will increase the taxes on middle
I'm
class.
not saying that we
people.
should have imported
I said
everybody
I never
or given
raised the
everybody
tax on
citizenship.
anybody making
There are
less than
people who deserved it,
$400,000. I didn't.
or at least given it a
This
chance.
tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average
The economy
American
right now feels like 2008 just before the
$2,500
crash.
a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in
It feels
food
like that to you?
and all the things that we're importing.
And I assume you're just an
Number
average,
two,
average
he's in a
person, average
situation
dude,
where
average gal,
he talks
average
about
person.
how he is not
Like
raised,
normal, you're not a
he-
millionaire.
he
You're like
somehow
me,
helped the
nobody.
Middle class. Middle class have been
I don't.
devastated.
It doesn't feel like that
Now
to
you want
me.
a new tax cut of $5 trillion over
That
the
summer
next 10
felt
years,
very, very
which is going to
different.
fundamentally
That
bankrupt the
summer of
country.
2000.
You had the largest deficit of any
It
president
was
in American
summer of
history.
2007.
Number one. Number two, you have not,
McCain,
in fact,
I think.
made any contact, any progress.
McCain
with
and
China. We are the lowest
Obama.
trade deficit with China since 2010.
And McCain
Thank you,
went
President
fucking
Biden.
nuts.
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting
But we had the
millions
Congress
of
and the Senate
Americans.
also,
both
like,
of you have made a top priority in your first term.
coming
the
up with the
opioid
TARP
crisis.
bullshit
And for both
and
of
the
you,
bailout.
the number of overdose
But,
deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it
Biden-
went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President
McCain
Trump, despite the
suspended his
efforts that both of
campaign,
you
his
have
presidential
made,
campaign.
more than
I remember this.
100,000 Americans
This
are dying
made
from
me lose
overdoses
faith in
every
him.
year,
He
primarily
suspended
from
his
fentanyl
campaign
and
because
other
we had this
opioids.
whole
What will you
confession
do to
going
help
on.
Americans right
So he
now
would go to
in the
Washington,
throes of
D.C. and vote
addiction
on
who are
the Senate.
struggling to get the treatment they need?
That was the
Finish up.
stupidest fucking thing I ever
We
saw
now
in my
have the
adult life.
largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have
How
the
many
largest
people
deficit with
McCain,
China.
when McCain
He gets
suspended his
paid by
presidential
China. He's a
campaign, you know how many
Manchurian
people
candidate. He gets
suspended their
money from
campaign
China.
during the
We
Civil
I
War,
think he's afraid to deal with them or something.
World War I,
But
World War
you
II?
notice he never
You
took
know how many
out my tariffs
candidates
because
suspended
we
their
bring in so
campaign
much
because of
money with the
those
tariffs
wars?
that I imposed on China. He never took them away.
No
He can't
one.
because it's too much money. It's
No one.
tremendous. And we
No
saved
one.
our steel
McCain,
industries,
when he
and
did
there's
that,
more to come. But he hasn't done that.
fucking off the
But he
rails.
hasn't
That
cut
and
the tariffs because he can't, because it's too
Couldn't take
much
her
money.
seriously.
But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country,
check it.
and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was,
2006.
what are you going to do to help Americans?
I
in
see
the
what you're
throes
saying.
of
I know
addiction
you're
right now
going
who are
for it. You're
struggling to
saying
get the
that
treatment
time
they
period.
need?
Jake, we were
You
doing very
feels
well
like
in addiction until
today.
the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got
I'm going to
great
score
equipment.
Trump.
We bought the
I'm going to
certain
score
dogs.
Trump
It's the most
a
incredible
couple points higher
thing that
than
you've ever
Biden.
seen, the way they can
I don't think it
spot
was a knockout.
We did a lot, and we had.
I don't think it was a
we were
knockout,
getting
but
very
Biden-
low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along.
I
numbers,
didn't
have
see
you
a
seen the numbers
standout
now?
performance
It's not
that he
only the
really
18
fucking
million
needed.
people that I believe is even
Joe
low,
Biden
because
needs tonight
the
to be,
gotaways. They
like,
don't even talk about gotaways.
really good for him.
But the numbers of
I
the
don't
amount
think
of
he screwed
drugs
the
and
pooch too
human
bad.
trafficking in women
I think he looked peculiar.
coming across our border.
I don't think
The
that's good.
worst
But
thing I've ever
to be honest
seen.
with you, it's not hard to pin
Numbers that
peculiar on
nobody's ever
Biden.
seen under him because the border's so bad.
Kind of already peculiar,
But the
so it's kind
number
of normal.
drugs
Biden, I
coming
guess.
across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
What I want to
Fentanyl
see is the
and
VP
fentanyl
debate.
went down for a while.
That will be
And I wanted to make
either
sure
extremely
you have
boring
machinery
or
that can
fucking
detect fentanyl.
off the charts.
These big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done,
China actively turns a blind eye when they want
said, don't do it.
fentanyl production.
It's going to hurt me politically.
And
but
then
he never argued it's not a good bill.
smuggling.
It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans and the
they
throes
make
of addiction
meth
right
in
now,
fucking in trailers.
Well, because this does pertain to it.
I don't think that you're going to be able to prevent cartels in Mexico from getting
in Mexico, not
drug manufacturing equipment. That sounds like bullshit.
So many things that we had done, hard
that,
negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter, I think a good guy, and he's over there because
Trump
Putin
is
laughing
very
at this
good
guy,
to mention
probably
that.
asking for billions of dollars.
The Wall Street Journal is not really pro-Trump.
I will have him out very quickly.
They're very
as
cold
soon as
to
I take
him.
office,
Very
before I take office.
The fact that he mentioned that,
literally,
that might score
as
him
soon as
some
I win
points.
the election,
I'll have to check the editorial for the Wall Street Journal.
He should have had him out a long time ago. But Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people.
I wish the chat would keep up.
I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially
nothing. not you.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
People. Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be.
Oh, you're right. No. It's a fucking only kicking indoors and
how do you address
putting bullets in brains
about your capability to handle the
is
toughest job in the world?
Only thing. And when you're to that point, to like where you can only solve it with violence.
First of all, I spent half my career being criticized as being the youngest person
you're
in politics.
Behind.
I was the second youngest person
ever
elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation he left me.
Stand on your record.
As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America.
That does not count.
Over billions
Most of those don't count. Those are going to come back anyway.
In enterprises.
Those are COVID bounce backs.
By the way, we brought all.
You don't get credit for that.
The whole idea of computer chips.
A
we used to have 40% of the market.
In the White House would get credit for that then.
And we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas.
Oh, well, how does Biden...
So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have
really soft,
40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
I would.
Fired up.
The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I've never heard a president talk like this before.
No, never heard a president talk like
We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America. For all our problems and all our opportunities.
Me and my wife,
We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word.
I'm surprised they haven't said anything.
Everybody trusts us. All of our allies.
Did they say anything about Pride Month?
Those who he cuddles up to, from
I hadn't heard.
Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Hey,
thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capability?
Has anyone said anything about Pride Month?
Cognitive tests, I aced them.
I'm surprised.
We made it public. He took none.
Maybe I didn't catch it, but I didn't hear Biden say one thing about it being Pride Month.
Go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it.
I'm surprised.
But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year.
You would think he's a Democrat. The Democrat has a
wherever we may have
contractual
that I'm in very good health. I just won
to mention
2 club championships, not even senior. 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing
Trump
to take a
looks
cognitive
more
test.
like himself.
And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie
than
Jackson,
Biden does at
great
peak
guy
Biden.
when he was
I don't
White
think
House
we're seeing
doctor.
peak
And then
Biden.
I took another one,
I think
a similar one.
we saw peak Biden
one of them
when he was
said they've
mad,
never seen
angry,
anybody
and fired
ace him.
up.
Thank you. President
Just
Biden.
going off of
You can
aesthetics
see he
and
is
surface level kind of
6'5" and only
bullshit.
223 pounds, or 235 pounds.
So he had a friend that quoted something like, "He'd rather have a slow
Well, anyway,
talking
that's
statesman
anyway,
than a
take a look at what he
used
says
car
at the end.
salesman liar."
Take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president.
I'm the biggest lesbian you've ever met. I like Bud Light, and I'm in transition.
By the way, I
Happy
told you
Pride
before, I'm
Month.
happy to play both.
Hey,
If you
Pride
carry
is
your
for
own bag.
everyone.
Think you can do it?
What I comment on Facebook during Pride Month
The
is
sixth handicap of all.
hashtag Pride.
Was it 8 handicap?
Yeah.
Pride is for everyone. Pride is even for us male lesbians.
You know how many?
I am a male
I know
lesbian.
you swing.
Okay, let's
you know
not
how
act
many
like
rounds-
children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn
Let's
rounds.
not act like children.
You
to
are
a
a child.
specific concern that voters have about you.
Biden just got a
Will
little
you
bar, but
pledge
you are a
tonight
child.
that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases
Wisconsin,
were ushered in
though,
by the
is a
police.
very weird
and as
state.
Nancy Pelosi said,
Anyway.
it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that
It
loud
went-
and clear.
It went for
But
Trump
the answer is,
the first time. It went
if
for
the
Biden the
election is
second
fair,
time.
free, and I want that more than anybody.
Will it go for Trump?
And I'll tell you something.
That's the
I
bellwether.
wish he was a great
in Wisconsin
president,
right there,
because I wouldn't
for
be
some
here
reason.
right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again.
Why not
We're gonna
ask
make
Biden the
America
same
great
question?
again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a
I
seriously
think
failing
that they
nation.
will. I think
And
that
we're a
Trump is
failing
going
nation
first.
because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing
have to say
going
the
with this
country's
gentleman, and he's going to drive us into
Democrats
World
have
War
that shit
III.
tattooed on their head.
You want a World War III?
They have two
Let
things. They
him
have Trump
follow
derangement
and win and
syndrome,
let Putin say, do what you want, NATO.
and they have
Just
Russia
do what you
derangement
want.
syndrome.
There's a thing called Article 5, an attack on one
to
is
be
an attack
fair,
on all, a required response.
There's a lot of
The
America
idea-
that still
The idea. I can't
doesn't
think
like
of a
Russia
single
and
major
never
leader
will.
in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world.
I wish I
because
could
our
do
own
another
safety
tab
is at stake.
and do
And again,
Herbert.
you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
Trump was the first
President
president
Trump,
since
as
the
I come
Korean
back
War
to
to
you
visit
for a
and talk with
follow-up,
Kim Jong-un.
The question
Yes.
was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He
I
knew
do
that.
agree.
Got along with
I
him very
think
well, but he
Trump
knew not to play
is a
games.
lot stronger
He
on the
took
foreign
nothing
policy
from me.
side with Russia, with
But now he's going to
strategic
take the whole
ambiguity.
thing from this man.
Biden
right
lost
here.
that.
That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started, ever, with me.
That's why Kim
And he's going
Jong-un,
to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before.
he
Would
is
you do
for
this?
peace, talking
He's
is the
got us
first
in
step
such
in
a
that. I
bad
agree.
position right now with
He
Ukraine
doesn't
and Russia.
have the same.
Because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will
free
never settle
market,
until such time.
fucking
They're running out of people.
globalism,
They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so
Maynard
sad.
Keynes,
They've lost
fucking
so many
economic
people, and they've lost those gorgeous
neoliberal
cities with the
bullshit
golden domes that are
that the
1,000
last
years old,
5
all
presidents
because of
have,
him
regardless
and
of
stupid
R or
decisions.
D.
Russia would have never
Trump
attacked.
was the first one to break
President
that
Trump,
mold.
the question was, will you accept the
Ask a
results
question,
of the election,
answer it,
regardless
and then
of
put
who wins?
policy in
Yes
place.
or no, please.
Which
If
Biden
it's a
has
fair,
doubled down on.
legal, and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else
Now,
was
whether
ridiculous.
Trump was a better
And if you
president or
want, we'll
not,
have a news
that is up
conference
to the
on it in a
voter.
week.
But
We'll have another one of these in a
say,
week. But I
you
will
know,
absolutely.
he had a
There's
better
nothing
time
I'd
under
rather
Trump.
do. It would be much easier for me to do that
Overlooking
than
the whole COVID
running
thing,
again.
which
I
destroyed
wasn't
Trump.
really going to run
Didn't help him.
until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he
We're up
can
to
win.
102.
But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers.
You can find me
to a
on
very high level,
YouTube,
because the people
SofaKingJewish on
understand
YouTube.
it.
I would appreciate if you could
Let's see what
like,
your
comment,
numbers are
subscribe,
when this election is over.
share, reshare,
Let's see. You're a whiner.
subscribe.
You lost the first time.
Also, would
You've
like to put
continued
my
to be
numbers up
appealed and
on
appealed to
Twitter.
courts all across the country. Not one single court in America
ApeIt_Ink.
said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you,
However you find me, I would appreciate a follow.
About somehow there's all this
I
misrepresentation.
don't follow
all this
everyone
stealing.
back
There's no evidence of that
because
at
I'm not
all.
going to
And
follow
I tell
back
you
some
what,
crypto
I doubt whether you'll accept
porn
it
bot
because you're such a
on
whiner.
Twitter.
The idea, if you lose again, you accept it.
But I will follow
you
real
can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
Anyway, I would appreciate it if you could follow me.
We'll be right back with more
This
from
is
the
the second
CNN
break.
presidential debate, live from Georgia.
And I already did the socials. I am going to
every weekday morning.
Here are the 5 things you need to know to start your day.
It would not necessarily cost me. It will cost me nothing if my well, it would cost me something if I got the. I will come back here. I have got to run. I found you through YouTube. Oh, you know what? Let me go to the chat here and we'll pull this up here. I found you through a YouTube search. Well, thank you for finding me. And I will definitely subscribe to you, Wisco Weirdo, for sure. YouTube is a beautiful fucking place when you follow lots of different channels and people. Your stream is a lot more interesting and fun than just like the same boring whatever. YouTube is where it's at for entertainment. Not so much Twitter. Twitter's kind of a dumpster fire. Some weeks if I log into Twitter, the thing I don't like about Twitter, logging into that, sometimes you'll see some animal getting hurt or some kid getting hurt. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. You know, there's got to be a happy medium like where you log into Facebook and you see rainbows and flowers and all that. And and your grandma's opinion and my opinion and everybody else's opinion. But if you share I don't know if you noticed this, but on Facebook, if you share a news article, it doesn't go anywhere. It have already been trending. And if I do see a news article, it's something salacious, TMZ like, or something absolutely irrelevant, like comic book nerd bullshit, which I'm already in anyway. And I fully admit that. I will be right back after these messages. All right. Commercial bullshit is still on. I don't know what I'm up to on Twitter. 99 views. It dropped down. I think I hit a K. I hit 1100 when I did the Moscow shooting. All right. Rope this back in. Put the sound on.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience, or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after
don't do shit for
the pandemic.
Deficit, bud.
And he finds himself in a position where he now wants
last
to
president to do that was Bill Clinton.
Putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States.
Bill Clinton would be considered a fucking hardcore,
who wants to get away with rid
red
of
state
the ability of Medicare
Republican nowadays by the standard that this man
for us to be able to negotiate prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35.
Facebook censored
instead of $400. No more than $2,000.
I see you've been in Facebook jail as well.
No matter what how much
I've had my accounts
they need. You know what that did? That reduced.
I've done the 30-day. I've done the 3-day. I've done the
$60 billion over 10 years.
You can comment on your main page. You can't comment in a
I'm going to make that available to every senior.
All of it. Multiple times over the years.
It's happening now.
I remember when they censored the laptop thing.
Wants to get rid of that.
I was pissed.
I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credit people have for child care.
We want to see
we're
that.
going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are.
I will say this: it's good to be nobody on social media to get away with this.
We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation.
This is fair use.
Thank you, President Biden.
May own the copyright.
You now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax.
But not like pride gay. Yes, correct.
All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect them. We look like fools in Afghanistan.
And she was like,
we didn't stop
you mean
Israel.
I was like, no,
a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah.
Make you feel better. You
can no money
whatsoever. The lights in the
background
or the trans flag.
Ukraine should have never happened.
He
talks about all the
stuff in your head.
For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place.
I also think you shouldn't be directly
insulted. 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you.
Malicious.
Because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president.
People come into contact.
And they don't respect you throughout the world.
Not everybody hates you.
What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs. But he's putting
life
a lot
will be a lot better if a lot
on.
more people figure that out.
All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up
I'll
and
give
readied up
that one,
and take care
maybe
of
a
themselves.
point of it.
And they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval
you
rating in the history of the
VA.
So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be
like
failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you,
label
former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
Oh, here we go to the post debate. I was actually impressed. I will say this about CNN. I was kind of impressed that they had Van Jones on here. That was Wisco, what do you think? What do you think? If you're still here, what do you think? What do you give? Okay, I'll ask Wisco. What do you give Trump's performance on a scale of 1 to 5? And I'm going to mute this.
The president and former
and I
president.
just want to have a little bit of a conversation here with the audience, whoever's out there. Tell me, what would you give Trump? What would you give Trump on his performance, 1 to 5? And what would you give Biden? What would you give Biden? 1 to 5. I'm going to think about it for a minute. He was more coherent. You mean Biden or Trump? So, okay, you're giving Trump 3.5 or you're giving Biden 3.5? I should have said this before. I should have said, say who you're like, say B or T, so I can discern it. But that's okay. We have a conversation here. That's good. Oh, I have the Daily Wire. 3.5. So you give Trump 3.5? How about Biden? Okay, Trump. You give Trump? Yep. Okay. I'll do this so the audience can see. Trump, Wisco, the audience says the audience says Trump was given 3.5. All right. All right. Now Biden, you gave 2.3. 2.3. Okay. All right. You know, I'm biased. I was definitely biased. I'm not no, I won't hide that. I'm very hostile to Biden. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm for Trump in all things, but I'm definitely anti-Biden for a lot of his horse shit, just like everybody else in America is feeling. I am no different. I have my own faults with him. Other people have their faults with him. I don't think that Biden. I agree with you, Wisco. I think that Trump. I think he did just fine. Steady Eddie. You know, he didn't have a spike or like any. He had a couple kind of weird things, but that's Trump. That's what Trump does. Biden was he did not suck all the way. He did not suck all the way. He was he had some strong points. I think he made some points on the board. I don't think that he pulled out what he needed to pull out tonight, though. I did not see it, and I was paying. I mean, I probably didn't have the acumen that I would normally have if I wasn't live streaming. To be clear, to be honest. But let's cut back in here and see what they're saying.
Biden's answers
and I'm going to flip
in
around
a lot
to
of
Fox
cases
Business,
not coherent.
CNBC,
Deeply problematic that he was not able
and then
to
we'll take a spin through the
pretty straightforward answers and answer them to the American public, and then also at some point
so that they can tell us
bringing things up that teed up.
So they
Trump
can tell me that I'm a bad American.
There's a real concern here tonight that there's been
Trump.
some real damage done that cannot be undone. Biden solidified the
also baited him with
among
the
voters,
and loser
but
comment.
especially
yes.
among
that was something
his
that was
base.
Weird too.
They were hoping that tonight would be a
all
game
things
changer.
to stick out.
They are now seeing
to really
a president
rile Trump
who is in the White House, who they do not necessarily
really
believe.
I mean, he really didn't get him going too much.
Can do this for another 4 years.
I do think that Trump showed control. Now that I think about it.
Look, I can't argue with either of them about how
CNN
Democratic leaders are reacting.
I think they
to
might
this
have
poll.
two.
We said at the beginning that each person had a fundamental goal, and for Biden, that goal was to appear energetic, engaged, and look like someone who is capable of serving for another 4 years.
Aside from just
for president, that was job number one. I actually think he scored a bunch of points. I think if you just judge this on
we got a very bad debate. I like the old
he did score a bunch of points on issues like abortion, for example, on some of the economic
I like the older
issues.
This was
there is a feeling.
It sucked all the energy out of everything.
Sense of shock, actually, how he came out at the beginning of this debate.
I think it sucked the life out of
his voice sounded
very fucking
he seemed a little disoriented. He did get stronger as the debate went on, but by that time, I think the panic had set in, and I think you're going to hear discussions that I don't know will lead to anything, but
you know what? God bless you.
There's going to be discussion about whether he
Let's
should
talk about the non-issues. What about
and I think part of it is Donald Trump did not meet his mission either. He could not resist the temptation to be nasty, to prevaricate
all he has
about
to do
a
is
whole
do what
bunch of
Biden
things
did in 2020.
about his own
Not
record,
quite
about
hide in the
Biden's
basement,
record,
but he's
and to seem petty and small at times. So what you saw was a candidate who's deeply vulnerable and a president who may not be able to take advantage of it.
Listen, if anybody in America thinks that was even close to being an okay debate by Joe Biden, I'm living in a parallel universe. That was an unmitigated disaster for President Biden from the second he walked out.
I don't think it was
to the closing statement.
I think the optics for Biden were horrific.
Is abortion. And he couldn't give an answer.
The stumbling, he even pointed to the podium when he was first coming out. I don't know if anybody saw that. I don't know if I was covering it then. I don't think I was live streaming then, but he came out and he was like, I think he was like looking for his cue. And he pointed to the podium. It's like,
I'm worried I'm going to lose if Joe Biden's the top of the ticket. Bob Casey, I promise you tonight, in the state of Pennsylvania, is thrown up in his mouth because he knows that if he's got to stand next to Joe Biden, he's going down in Pennsylvania. If he's on the ticket,
Fetterman, God bless you. You came around to Israel.
Look, it was a really disappointing debate performance.
I was really mean
I don't
to
think
you.
there's any other way to slice it. His biggest issue that he had to prove to the American people was that he had the energy and the stamina, and he didn't do that. And so I think that is of concern, and I think for a lot of Democrats that's very disappointing. I will say Donald Trump also had some really rough moments in this debate, and talking to the Biden campaign, they say their dials started really moving away from Trump as he was increasing his personal attacks on Biden. So I think there was a lot about his kind of character and the kind of personal nastiness that he was putting on display.
Guess what, guys?
Swing voters that he needs.
That was the headline before any of this fucking shit started.
More and more animated across the course of the debate, and give some really problematic answers about January 6th. Some really problematic answers about Putin. So, Donald Trump did not get off scot-free tonight by any stretch. But look, there is no two ways about it. That was not a good debate for Joe Biden.
Ben?
Joe Biden, if this were a boxing match, Joe Biden.
I work for Joe Biden. Didn't do well at all.
Van Jones.
He
I
did
value
not
his
do well
opinion.
at all. And he looked, I'll give you the analysis, you kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man.
I will. At least he's honest, right? At least Van Jones is honest. I was gonna say with the boxing match, Joe Biden got knocked about in the face, and he had a bloody lip, he had a bloody nose, he had a couple black eyes. He looked really, really torn up. He looked tired. He looked very tired. Donald Trump, if this were a boxing match, would have got all his bruises down below. You wouldn't have been able to see him on his face. And that's a very poor analogy. So forgive me, but if you're a boxing match, Joe Biden got beat up. If this is the initial attack line or the initial thing on CNN, oh shit. Media. The one thing about mass media is that they are sharks.
Change our institutions. He has laid out what his plan is.
Now I kind of want
I
to
am
watch.
not
Well,
confident
we'll watch
that
this for
is
a
the man
moment or
to
two.
take him on. You cannot tell me democracy is on the line and then give that performance tonight. If based on that, in 18 weeks, Donald Trump will be the president-elect.
The people doing focus groups
I think
tonight,
that's
and we'll
dawning
see if
on more
our
people
style group
as
with
time
Laura
goes
Coates
on.
confirms this. Say that Biden
What
actually
the fuck
scores
is up?
pretty well on the issues when he's talking about the substance. And Trump's numbers went down both because he was ducking questions, he was lying about some things, and he was refusing to
Ladies
answer
and gentlemen,
some
if
of
you've
the
been with
tone.
me
It was
this
the
long,
tone.
I would
They don't like
really,
it.
really
So when you
appreciate
see that,
you to
you know,
subscribe
when
to
you
my
see
YouTube
sort of
channel.
the statistics,
Follow me
you're
on
going to
Twitter.
look at like, oh, that's a
Follow my
mixed bag.
Substack.
But
I
to
would
Van's
really,
point
really
about
like
the
to get my
president's
numbers up on
performance,
Substack.
that's what
I'd
caused
like
the
to
panic.
double,
So
maybe
the
triple those
question,
numbers
and
on
my
Substack.
question actually is, what
If
happens?
you could meet me halfway,
it's
maybe.
a great political strength of Joe
Type
Biden
in
is his resilience and his stubbornness.
ApeIt.
It's also sometimes a blind spot because he is so
really
stubborn. It's going to be very hard to
give me a
someone,
subscribe.
and I don't know who it is, who could go to Joe Biden and say, you need to do this, number one. And the question is, again, like, I'm just telling you, to Abby's point,
let's talk
I've
about the
been
non-issue.
doing this for 30-something years, going on 40 years, and I have never, ever had what happened on this thing tonight happen in the middle of a debate. It started early, and it continued. And to Van's point, Van made a very important point. These are people who love Joe Biden, who credit Joe Biden for kicking Donald Trump out of the White House. They're Democrats. The Democratic Party is a very diverse party. It fights about a lot of things.
Look at the sincere look in his eye.
It has regional issues and everything else. The thing that unites the Democratic Party is trying to keep Donald Trump from getting back into the White House. They love Joe Biden.
They know they have lost.
They don't
this
want him
election
back. They came into this
fundamentally is over.
That Biden was in a weak position. They leave this debate panicked.
And if they put Donald Trump in jail, if you put Donald Trump in a jail cell, what do you think's going to happen? You didn't got to show up.
These guys know this better.
It could be an empty podium, and you could give 90 minutes for Joe Biden to talk about whatever the fuck you want.
You don't challenge the incumbent.
One, he wouldn't be able to survive. He wouldn't be able to last that long.
They haven't beaten the incumbent, and then the incumbent has lost his general election.
It was actually Donald Trump
that
helped make Joe Biden the nominee, because there was a feeling that if there were a primary, that would weaken. That Biden would probably win, but it would weaken him in a general election.
Generally
and so there were
speaking,
people who could have run and didn't run, because the history of that is bad.
Baseball
the point is now he is the nominee
I'm independent
of the Democratic Party.
Center
This
right
isn't the
is where
60s,
my starting position is.
Voters choose the nominee. He is the nominee.
Both social issues I am very liberal on, as far as I don't give a fuck.
And as Kate knows very well, this is
if you're a gay couple, you should be able to adopt, have a kid, whatever. Good for you. God bless you.
And the idea that he's going to say, you know what?
About the only line I draw on that is the transgender thing. But that's a whole other conversation.
And I'll let you. I know Scott. You're trying to jump in, but it was also it was an atypically bad performance. Okay, and it was also one night.
That's my view. That doesn't mean I would put it on somebody else per se.
It was one night in the course of a campaign, so I think let's see how voters react to it.
The problem with the one night.
I think you're speaking the truth. A lot of people are over this election. I think people are kind of done.
People's fears.
They're done.
It's the one night
left
that everybody
Democrat
was watching.
people on my Facebook feed, which is quite a bit. It's quite a bit. They are all.
And people are going to feel
all
they
like
came upon it. Not on the substance.
They're all like
I think
using rhetoric that doesn't make any fucking sense.
I don't think Trump did well.
It's incoherent.
I think what it says to a lot of people, a lot of active
it's
Democrats
very weak.
Man, we can beat this guy,
it's
but I don't know
trying
if
to
we can
hammer
beat
home the felony thing when nobody gives a fuck.
When we came on before this debate,
you guys did it all wrong.
I thought this candidacy was teetering.
The Democrats did it all wrong.
And everybody jumped on me.
Yes, we did.
Every single person out here. and I just
aggressive panic for Democrats after
the candidacy has fallen. Okay, man, I know you're speaking from your heart.
What if I'm already Trans-Siberian?
We should pray for the president.
Cool.
I think his advisors.
You're an American.
I think the White House.
You're a citizen.
And I think his family.
Awesome.
Have a lot of explaining to do to their party.
I don't care. I don't give a shit.
People.
I really don't care.
This night, this one night.
I don't care.
Was caused by.
Does anybody give a shit that I'm a
by
Jew?
The Biden team. They wanted
that I'm a Jew.
This night.
And that I'm a white man
this is what we
in
got.
America. Do you think anybody gives five cents of a fuck that I am all those things?
Meetings, no. I've seen Joe Biden.
No, they don't.
Do cartwheels and handstands.
There's not one person who wakes up in America
solving all the nation's problems.
and wishes. And
we now know
for
that every
me
single
specifically,
person
my demographic
has been lying to the American people,
including Kevin McCarthy.
We've been told, Kate.
I know you're
just saying.
Everything we've been told about his mental acuity
this is too good.
By these Democrats has been a lie.
There are so many Democrats that are not having a good time.
Has been confirmed. I got a text from a friend. She's not terribly political. She maxed out to Biden in the last election because she hates Donald Trump.
What they want.
She said to me, I will never forgive the Democratic Party for this election. If the Democrats truly believe that he is an existential threat to democracy, and that's not just some
I've been saying this for fucking months.
They will wake up in the morning and they will do something else because this is not sustainable.
That's another point about there are Democrats who are panicking.
I have been harping. I have been nipping at the Democrats.
Who did not want to vote for Donald Trump. Who do not
I've been nipping at their heels for
panicking tonight.
years
I heard from
now
one
about how they've handled Donald Trump, and I am not the only person.
That's how it was described to me. And
I'd second that.
The Democrats have so. If Donald Trump needs to just say the only thing he needs to debate Biden next time, this next round, if he's on stage. If he's on stage,
that's the other part of what is unfolding tonight in terms of the panic that is out there.
Guys, I already have coming into this debate.
They don't know how to stop.
Support for third-party candidates. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. highest, and then Jill Stein and Cornel West nowhere near as close.
Other myth the media says about the RFK thing, when you do that, about the whole RFK thing. Out of this they say if RFK runs, it's going to hurt Trump
up a little bit. I'm not saying they're going to go up anywhere like a Perot standard, but you get to third-party candidates getting into double digits then that really starts to twist your electoral math depending on who they're drawing from state by state. This was already a very complicated
Trump
race.
has two draws. He only
number
needs
one, the biggest
two.
complication right now
This
is
is why I love the
conversation with
inside
Democratic
baseball
Party.
of it.
But the other complication is going to be
I'm going to
Joe
mute him
Biden
here
stays
for a minute so I can talk for a minute. Trump only has to pull off a few extra percentage points than what he normally would get, what the normal GOP draw would be for the black vote. Primarily African American black males, black women hate Trump. They voted like 95+% against Trump last election. African American women hate Donald Trump as a demographic, as a bucket of people in the same voting patterns, habits. He doesn't have to get 50% of the black vote. He will never get 50% of the black vote. He never will. All he has to do is get better than the 13% in the national election, national consensus. That's all he has to do. He's got to do that. He's got to get the Latino vote, majority of that. He's got to draw a little bit more women. If you have RFK, no GOP right-leaning person is going to vote for Robert F. Kennedy. They're because they're smart, because he's a fucking Democrat. He's not a true independent. RFK is going to suck off. They're going to pull. Pardon my poor language choice. I didn't mean anything by it. All RFK has to do is just pull off. He has to draw off just a little bit more from the Democrat pool, and this election is over. Donald Trump has it in the bag. It would be essentially a landslide. And then I'm going to get to your comment here, Wisco, after my monologue here. He only has to win by small percentage points gains. For Trump has the best, Trump's best in certain categories, demographics, and he'll be fine. DJT, Donald Trump could cure cancer, and he would be sent to jail for taking away profits from big pharmaceutical companies. You're right. That's that TDS, that Trump derangement syndrome. That is a real thing. It used to be a very, very powerful short-term lightning strike for the Democrats. It really was a very strong talking point, a very strong fundraising scene. I will actually, that reminds me, when the trial was ongoing and Trump was limited geographically to New York City, really sub parts of New York City because of travel time and things, he had to go back to court. If there were any other time in history, like if this were like 5 years ago and Donald Trump had showed up randomly to do a rally or some kind of event, do you know how many counter protesters there would have been in New York City? How many did we see when Donald Trump would do his little mini rallies, which, let's be clear, they didn't have a whole shit ton of people, but they had enough people. They didn't have people to write about and photograph, and the media was like, shh. How many counter protesters were there? They would have been flooded. If this were during Trump's term, the Trump derangement syndrome would have been so many more counter protesters in New York. We didn't see that. All right. Then why wasn't RFK on the ballot tonight? Why he didn't make the cut? I don't know why he didn't make the cut, and I don't think it would have mattered anyway because I don't think they wanted him on here. And I have no doubt you would probably agree with me that they did that on purpose. I'm sure that RFK did make the cut on the polling and all the other requirements or whatever. I didn't read the headline. I will, after this is all kind of, after I shut it down, I will go check into that. I might write about it too. This is something as a unique angle to cover. All right, I'm going to turn the sound back on. We get back into Trump derangement syndrome. It's a liability. It was good. I'll finish up my point here real quick. Trump derangement syndrome was a very powerful organizing mechanism device. Now it's not there anymore. It doesn't have the same.
And I fact check Trump all the time.
It's kind of like, you know what? You want to know what the equivalent is on the right side? Remember, everybody talks about woke and go woke, go broke, da 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 da. The woke on the right, that's their rallying cry, right? Like that's the thing that people just go crazy over. That has like no currency nowadays. Like, I mean, it has a little bit, not like it did way back when. The same thing is true for TDS on the other side.
That was built on a house of lies
kind of
and
same
building
kind of.
building a whole world for the millions of people watching.
Particularly on some of the most basic subject matters that President Biden should have been able to just.
That world that he was able to build, it was not knocked down by
I want to know who
president.
Trump's
That is
VP
really
is,
at the heart
and I
of the
want to know
problem.
who.
He may have won
I want to see
when
the
he
Kamala.
was making his discrete policy. The point,
They'll probably only have
but
one.
part of the job on the debate stage is dealing with an opponent like Donald Trump, who goes like a mile
Biden's
a minute
performance, nothing
on
good.
things that are not true. And if you don't
I'm
deal
not
with
sure,
that,
Abby.
I don't know if
But
no one at home is doing that.
All I
No
want
one
to
at
say
home
is,
doing that.
I'm not sure. I don't think you're giving viewers enough credit. I think what they saw was the Trump that they didn't like, and I don't think he did himself.
They heard anything beyond.
But
hate
I
him.
also think we should just. I also
Your
think
head
we
was
should
rattling
let
with all the
voters
hate.
absorb this and see what they
BBs
say,
rolling
right?
around.
Let's look at the dial.
like a few BBs in a boxcar all over the place.
Make our pronouncements, but ultimately voters have to absorb
They're going
it.
to turn your mics off, guys.
Real quickly, on the one thing that that Biden did fact check him on the Charlottesville thing, he was completely wrong. Right, so he's up there talking about Charlottesville and Trump not denouncing the two sides.
That is
Snopes was
factual.
out last week, 7 months, 7 years too late, kind of thing on the deal.
You seen it? The correspondence sound like Cos Mom South Park.
We're gonna more
I know a
with
little
the panel
kitty
out
kitty's
here.
gonna go to bed
A
with
lot
Mama tonight.
of notable
What?
moments, painful moments from tonight. But as we've been talking about, perhaps a single defining one as well. This one early on.
Anderson replay the fucking clip here.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with.
Fucking election is over.
Look,
fundamentally, it's over. If he comes
we
to the
finally
next
beat
debate like
Medicare.
this, it's fucking
Thank you,
done.
President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying
They took our
Medicare.
jobs. They took our jobs.
That was one notable moment early on. Let's go to Erin in the spin room. Erin.
That's right. That was a moment. I'm sure.
You think they're going to replace Biden?
Your panel, me, my panel.
This is what the headlines are going to be on the right
country.
tomorrow.
That was a painful moment to watch. It was early on in the debate, and Audie, Caitlin, and Chris are here. It was very early on. Chris, it seemed from that moment that was it.
Did you see that side?
I think it was even
Did you
before
see that
that
fucking
moment
side?
when he first started speaking.
Over there on the right,
President
whoever that
Biden,
is, he was
and
like-
that the raspiness, the hoarseness in his voice. That was at 9/11, and there were several minutes when Jake and Dana were setting the rules. So it's got to have been less than 10 minutes into the debate, and he totally lost his train of thought, and ended up saying Medicare just out of the blue. We've heard so much from the other panel
These
about
four
their
on the
reactions
stage were
to this.
trying to
I think ever
sharpshoot Trump
since, and I've
and
had
make
this
an issue,
conversation so often,
mountain out of
that
a
after the
molehill,
midterms, if
out of
Joe Biden, after
Melania
a
not showing up
remarkably
for the
successful
debate?
first 2 years and a remarkably
Nobody gives a
successful
fuck.
midterm for a first-term president,
This dude was kind of
had
smart.
said,
He was smart. He
I'm
was
the
like, I don't think it
transitional
matters.
president, and I'm
whatever,
moving
something.
on and sending it to
He
another
used the fancy
generation.
pants word.
He was unwilling to do that, and Joe Biden was unwilling to do that, and ever since then, we have been.
I'm just as you're saying that, I'm only interrupting you, Chris, because that is a watch party.
I would
live
appreciate
right
if you could
now.
retweet my
Joining
tweet,
her
give me a little bit
at
wider
the,
reach.
The watch party she was
I
at
am
in
being
Atlanta.
censored, shadow
Obviously,
banned,
a response that does not
because I am
match
a
what
Jew.
seems to be the broader response. They're cheering for him right there, as you can see.
That's what all the grifters do, right? That's how
More
they sound.
years.
Do we want to watch that, or
No,
I am
we don't
being
have to-
censored.
Okay,
I am being censored.
Anyway, I was
You
just
gotta do the
going
Alex
to say
Jones.
that the two of them
Bro,
decided
I am being
after
censored
November
on
of
Twitter,
2022 that he was going to seek the presidency
YouTube.
when there were
I'm
so
being
many
censored.
people
You
who
need
thought
to,
he should have turned it over to a new
you need to
generation.
share, like, subscribe,
and
comment.
this has been, quite frankly,
as
a
Jew,
car
they are
accident
censoring my
in
Jewish
slow
views.
motion that we've seen over
They
and
don't like us.
building and questioning it. And
The more
you know,
the more you
as has
spend
been
time on
pointed
here
out,
watching
Joe Biden
me,
sought this
the
debate
better
at
it
this
is
remarkably
for
early
everyone.
time because he knew
America,
he was losing
freedom.
and he needed to change the narrative. And he did change the narrative. He sunk his campaign tonight.
Well, and
We
we're
just
in the
read
spin
up
room
a
right now.
script
This
that
is where the
said- that
surrogates
says
and
Biden
allies
is
of
the
the
best
campaign
pro-Biden.
come to
That's what
spin their
CNN
candidates'
is.
respective performances,
They were.
and it is going to be an
I mean,
immense
they are.
challenge
You're right.
for Biden's surrogates. We have Governor Gavin Newsom here, and also Georgia
Fucking
Senator
Newsom,
Raphael
put
Warnock
Newsom
in the
on.
back of the room. There are Trump
campaign
He's
aides
about
in here
5
as well.
seconds.
No
He's
reporters are talking
he's
to
always
them.
5 inches from hovering from Joe Biden's cock,
surrogates that are inside this room.
giving him
And I
a
think what
blowy.
I'm most struck by after listening to that entire performance
Apologize
and
for my
talking
language here,
to
but,
the Biden campaign officials
Gavin
and
Newsom
covering
is just
President
like,
Biden myself his first
what
2
can I
years
do,
in
sir?
office
How
was
can I help you?
part of his closing statement there. He made
Yeah,
no
suck it up,
mention
your
of
mouth.
abortion or Donald Trump's
Maybe
felony
he's winning.
conviction.
You
The
can
2 things that
kick
they
them
have
all
talked
out.
about the
I'm from
most, the
California
fact that that
too.
is the biggest contrast
I was the governor
between
of San
President Biden and
Francisco.
former President Donald Trump. Obviously,
Newsom, what
the
a
felony
fucking what a
conviction,
vulture.
but also what they've done on reproductive
Fucking
rights
vulture.
and the fact that through the
That guy
justices who
actually
helped
thinks that he
overturn
could
Roe
win.
versus Wade were put on
He
the
could
Supreme
win
Court
a
by
general
former
election
President
in
Donald
America.
Trump. But on January 6th
Can you imagine
itself
that?
as an issue, Donald Trump
Gavin
lied about
Newsom?
January 6th. He downplayed his own role, and he also claimed that police officers were ushering people in that day. They've testified
Newsom
they
and
were
Trump
actually
debate would be
overwhelmed and
interesting.
outnumbered. And
You
that
know
is why
what?
people were
If
able to get
they
to the
did old
Capitol that
school
day.
rules
And
with the
President Biden,
audience and
who delivered an
questions
address on
without
the anniversary of
shenanigans,
January
without too many
6th, and said that
shenanigans,
Donald Trump was holding
that would be a fight. That would be
dagger to the
about.
throat of
I would
democracy.
love
did
to
not
see that.
seize on that moment and
He
did
couldn't-
not
he couldn't
take
That
that.
So
would
can I just for a moment, because we can hear
way
him,
more
and this is
interested in
happening
this,
right
whatever
now.
the fuck this
So
was tonight.
just in this
This
moment,
weird,
he's at a watch
sterile,
party. They're cheering 4 more
hospital
years.
room,
He's speaking. What I'm curious
technology,
about, okay,
mute mic
is
here,
does he
there.
know how bad this was?
Very
At this
robotic
moment? He
fucking
walked out to his agents. Does he know?
newscasters, fucking moderators,
can hear
whatever
him
the
a little
fuck,
bit on the
mod
mic.
He doesn't know.
bots,
That's more alarming than anything.
fucking robots.
You know, he's not the first president who's had
AI.
a
We
really
would have been better off
we
if
can
a
hear it. Why
fucking
don't we listen
AI
to
would
a
have
little
ran
bit
the
of it?
debate.
Heading to North Carolina.
Would have been more human than what we fucking saw.
All right.
I don't like this new debate.
Thank you, thank you,
thing.
thank
I don't
you,
like
thank
it.
you, thank you, thank you.
I don't like it at all.
I want to go home
Of
with
course
you.
they're going to him. Why do you think that would be? Because they're pro-Biden. I'll put your previous comment. We just need to because CNN is pro-Biden. That's
All
right.
so there he
I
is.
just reused
Thank
your
you, thank
chat
you.
thing.
The rousing applause,
Yeah.
going to that party.
Okay,
Go
he
back to your
wasn't a
most
third that vibrant or vigorous inside
I
the debate
wish I could
body.
put the
Yeah,
overlay
I mean, I
on,
think
but for some reason
fundamentally,
Restreamio
I think a lot of
or
Americans
Restream
saw
IO,
Donald Trump they recognized
their
tonight,
thing kind
right?
of sucks.
His mannerisms, his quickness in his response,
I missed good
and
debates. Remember the
as
Bush
you
Kerry
talked
debate?
about,
Yes, I do.
lies
That was a
and
good debate.
information that was
Yes.
incorrect. Unfortunately, they also saw a Joe Biden maybe they don't recognize. This is not the
It's
person
hard to
who
argue
was
that
quick on his
Biden should
feet
be our
or
nominee.
fast to
See?
parry
The
or to
recriminations are already coming
respond
in.
quickly.
Let me flip down
to misinformation, to respond quickly to lies.
fucking misinformation. Shut the fuck up about
Joe
misinformation.
Biden
You guys
in
don't
a
even know
long
what the
time.
fuck that is.
This
Well,
was
I
the
mean, my
culmination-
comment
this
was
the
it.
Yeah, they
culmination
act
of the
like
process.
misinformation and
Perhaps, but it
people making
also
up
was
shit. It's
stark.
been is
You know,
brand
before I
new.
went into this
Been here
conversation,
forever.
I thought about
People
the
are
idea
smart.
of
People
infirm
are
versus
fucking smart.
unstable, and I think that Joe
That's
Biden did
insulting.
not do enough to mitigate the idea that
Right,
he
let's
is
go to
infirm,
Fox
and Donald
Business.
Trump was able.
I just want
find
to dip in
ourselves
here
in a
real quick.
situation where
I'm more interested in what
his
MSNBC is.
economy, he
I'm
rewarded
going to
the
hang around
wealthy.
here for like
He had
maybe
the largest
30
tax cut in American history,
maybe a minute
$2
and a half.
trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the
I wonder if
only
they got
president
Stuart
other than
Smalley
Herbert
or
Hoover who's had law school
Maria
jobs that he had when
Bartolomo
he began,
running
since Herbert
the
Hoover. The idea that he did
as the
something that was
DJ.
significant, and the military. You know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that.
Honestly,
When he was
who has
president,
time
we
to look
still
at the
find
news?
ourselves in a
You're right. You
position
know
where
what?
You had a
Never mind
notion
this
that
debate or like
we
how
were
catastrophic
this safe
it
country. The truth
seems
is,
to be for the
I'm the only
Democrats
president this
and
century
how
that doesn't have any
very little
this
Donald Trump had to
decade
do.
that doesn't have any
check
troops
back.
dying anywhere in the world like he did.
You know what?
President Trump, I
The
want
thing
to follow
is,
up if I can. You want
most people
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You
don't
can
pay
do whatever you
attention
want with
to
the
any
minute
of
that we
this
give you.
stuff because
I want
why?
to follow up. You want to
If you
impose
go back
a 10%
last year,
tariff on all
last
goods
summer,
coming into the U.S.
what was the score?
How will you ensure
Trump
that
a little bit
that
up
doesn't drive prices
over
even
Biden?
higher?
It's not going to drive
point
them
or
higher.
two?
It's just going to cause countries that have been
That's how it
ripping
was
us off
last
for
year.
years, like
If you
China
ask people,
and many others, in all fairness to China.
although this
it's gonna
might move the
just
needle.
force them to pay us a lot of
All right,
money,
let's move on
our deficit tremendously and give us a lot of power for
Those
other
people
things.
read a headline and
he
that's it. You're right.
made a statement. The
Right.
only thing
I
he
had
was right about is I
demonstrated that
gave you the largest tax cut in
through the
history. I also
RFK
gave you
thing.
the
Well,
largest
yeah,
regulation
like
cut
anybody
in
else.
history. That's
I
why we had
focus
all the
more on
jobs.
my job.
And the jobs went down, and then
I'm
they
in
bounced
technology
back, and
and
he's
security.
taking credit for bounce back jobs. You
You
can't do
think
that.
that I
He
have
also said
my head
he
in
inherited 9%
the
inflation. No,
gossip section
he
of
inherited
TMZ?
almost
No,
no
no.
inflation, and it stayed that
If I
way
have
for
anything,
14 months. And then
some
it
kind of
blew
tech
up under
news
his
feed.
leadership because they
They
spent
are
money like
security
a bunch of people that didn't know
that
what
tells me
they were
about look
doing,
what
and
the
they
latest
don't know what they're doing.
vulnerabilities
It
or
was the
latest
worst, probably the worst
bullshit going on.
administration
So
in
I
history.
don't get
There's
hit.
never been. And as far as
Caught
Afghanistan
off
is
guard.
concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with
inflation
dignity,
is high.
with
Everyone is
strength,
working 2
with
jobs just to
power.
make ends
He
meet.
got out. It was the most
Nobody has time to
embarrassing
look at
day in the
President's face
history
for
of
who's
our
gone.
country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under
with
both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record
And that
highs.
gut says,
And according to a new nonpartisan
better off
analysis,
now,
President Trump, your
or were
administration
you better
approved
off 4 years
$8.4 trillion in new debt.
Most
Well, so
people-
far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt.
See,
So
4
former
years
President
ago,
Trump, many of the
5 years
tax
ago
cuts
is better.
that you signed into law are set to expire
Hands
next
down.
year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say.
I am
With
going
the
to step
U.S.
away from it,
facing
and then I'm going to go
trillion-dollar
to
deficits
MSNBC,
and
and
record
then we're
debt,
going to,
why
and
should
then we
top
might make another
earners and
rotation back to
corporations pay
CNN.
even
Otherwise,
less
I'm going
in
to shut it down
taxes
probably
than they do
soon.
now?
Because the tax
We'll see.
cuts
We'll see how
spurred
fired
the
up.
greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done. We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country.
The chicken on the kiddos.
And I'd love to ask him, and
as long as
why
people
he allowed
eat,
millions of people to come in here from prisons,
I'm back
jails,
here.
and mental
As long as people can eat a
institutions to
steak
come
and
into
have
our
a beer, they
country
don't give a
and
shit.
destroy
That's
our
correct.
country.
Yep.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond.
You want to have
to
a
this question
guillotine
about the national debt.
erected in front of every federal office in America?
President 4-year period, number one.
Fuck with
Number
their food and
two,
see what happens.
That $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires.
We have 1,000 trillion.
And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2%.
What does it fucking have to do with the cost of my groceries being up 20%?
25%, either one of those numbers. They've raised $500 million. $billion, I should say, in the 10-year
Oh, I know. Absolutely. I pay every fucking week that I go to the grocery store.
Make sure that all those things we need to do.
Or I can't go out to eat as much as I used to a few years back.
In our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person.
We probably have 1,000. I'm sure we do. I was just kind of mocking him a little bit. Not really mocking him, just kind of like being.
Excuse me, with dealing with
being fresh.
Everything we have to do with
dismissive.
Look,
Biden. I don't like Biden. I don't like Biden.
We finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
I don't love Trump either.
Right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death.
But I'm willing to take a chance on
because
the guy in the
all
red
of these
tie
people
over
are
the
coming
guy
in.
in the fucking
They're putting them
blue
on
tie.
Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump.
This is the first presidential election.
Oh man, they got to be going nuts.
has 110 unbound delegates. The Democratic Party has 771 unbound delegates. And that does not mean that those unbound delegates will do anything. There are 3,000 delegates that happen on the first ballot. It takes 1,951 delegates to win. I'm sorry, 1,976 delegates to win. It's all a numbers.
I mean, but doing the math of it only matters if it's going to happen.
If it's going to happen.
So the question is whether it's going to happen, and I think that David Pluff's take on that is probably correct, and I think that Joe Biden's take on that is correct. My colleague Alex Wagner is standing by right now with California Governor Biden surrogate Gavin Newsom. Alex, I cannot wait for this conversation.
Well, neither can I. Well, you guys can't see it, but there like all of.
All right,
DeSantis.
Go back to the previous question that I asked.
Nobody wants to talk to them. It was
I asked,
like human piranhas descending on the governor after the end of this debate.
You know what?
Governor, let me just.
I would not have
what
a
was
problem
your
with that.
reaction to
I'll
what
be
we
okay
saw
with that.
on screen?
Well, not on the substance. He won the debate. I'm old school. I'm old.
The media is
That's
controlled
what
by
matters to me.
companies that have an
About the
agenda. Yes,
lies,
they
I was
do.
taking notes
think
about all
most
the
people
lies
would
that
not
ran out of paper.
bat an eye to that.
Donald Trump, no accountability on those lies.
Let's put it this
the
way: if
American
somebody's going to
economy,
call
talking
Fox
down
News right,
our democracy.
you don't get to do that
was alarming.
calling CNN,
This is a world
MSNBC.
we're living in now. Donald Trump created where 13-year-olds have to.
I don't think that's a newsflash to anybody. I don't think anybody in their right mind would argue against that, unless you're like some fucking weirdo and you see shit weird
so
anyway.
For me,
but
it was
God bless
daylight
you if you
and
do.
darkness, and I'm very proud of the president's record, and I'm very proud for his vision of the future.
Here we go.
I mean, let's talk about the substance, though, because
look
I
at,
feel like on the
DeSantis,
signature
right?
issue that Democrats have, which is abortion,
Newsom.
the president's response was garbled.
They are all left wing. You're right. Gavin Newsom right now. I don't know if you guys can see this or not.
What he needed to do
on an issue that could motivate voters in the polls?
I think it's
right now. Gavin Newsom
insignificant
has a level 5 hazmat
because the American people have made up their mind.
He's got a
they
level
don't support
5
the policies of Donald Trump. They certainly
and
don't
he's
support
cleaning
his
up
policies or
the
his
radioactive
the American
biological
people always
fucking
wanted
mess
to be states' rights.
that Biden left behind from that performance, that
perspective, I
debate
don't think
performance.
that will matter. You saw it in all the elections since Dobbs.
Here's
where
what I wish would have
Democrats
happened. I wish Trump would not have run, and we had seen. I think there's a lot of people. I felt like that, but for my
less and do more. The opportunity
I was really
the opportunity to put our heads down. We have the
I was hoping to vote in the Missouri primary. I ended up not voting because there's no
point.
point.
Our back, you don't turn your back. You go home with the one
for
that
Vivek Ramaswamy.
100% all in, and I was very, very proud that he was able to articulate the work that he's done and lay a foundation of understanding of the lies and the deceit.
There's no way a brown boy from the block.
You were out there getting a chorus of questions about whether Biden should step down. There is panic that has set in. There is panic that has set in among people who have watched this debate, who are Democrats, people who are strategists, and some even inside Democratic campaigns.
And they're talking Doug Burgum.
Well, I think it's
to be his VP.
And I think it's unnecessary.
We got to go in. Depends on what headlines you read. I've heard that she's not on the list. I've heard that she is on the list.
Because of one performance? What kind of party does that? It's been a masterclass. 15.6 million jobs. That's 8 times more than the last 3 Republican presidents combined. The only thing the last 3 Republican presidents have in common is recessions. Democrats deliver. This president has delivered.
Just never mind political positions
at this moment. With all due respect,
for example,
the more time we start
say that
having these conversations, go down these rabbit holes, it's unhelpful to our democracy, our fate and future of this
very
country.
good order. You can say that about
Obama. They need
Obama
us right now to step up, and that's exactly what I intend to do.
Is on a whole other level how he handles the media
this was their idea
and how he handles interviews.
This debate now,
he doesn't do
it
in
what
a
you think they got out of it. What was Biden's
he doesn't do it in an arrogant. Well, actually, I'm sure the people that don't like him think that he's very arrogant.
More stamina.
To me, he doesn't do it in an arrogant way. He does it in a very
it's difficult to assess. I need a little bit more.
Just like Trump
and time away from this.
But Trump does it in his own style. Vivek does it in his own style.
The bottom line is, this is
the rumors that I've heard is that Trump doesn't like somebody like a Vivek who is also like him, who can just control the crowd
North
like
Carolina tomorrow. We'll get there out there on the road.
And you have another chat here. You say
we need to step in to support this grassroots effort all across the United States. We need to raise money.
I think that's true.
And we need to
I think he's ready, but I'm biased.
We need to understand what's at stake if we turn our back at this critical time. There's too much.
If Biden and Trump are remembered for any particular line, it seems like it would be the line, I didn't have sex with a porn star, which is not something we've heard on a debate stage before.
No, when you use the words I didn't have section of the porn star, you're not winning, you're losing at that case.
Yes, I know our friends in New York have questions for you. So if we could go back to New York City, Rachel.
Hey, Governor Newsom, it's Rachel Maddow here. Thank you so much for taking time here. When you said worry less and do more, what do you think that people who support President Biden, people in Democratic politics, people who are planning on voting for him, who are worried that he seemed older than they expected tonight, that he didn't seem to reassure people on stamina issues, as Joe was saying before, what should people do?
We'll talk about what he has done and what he's done recently, what he's delivered in bipartisan.
Pardon me, I got to blow my nose. I don't want to do that.
An infrastructure bill, the Chips and Science Act, the work that he's done across a spectrum of issues to deliver for the American people, and the vision he's laid out for the future, and contrast that, not just lifting up those issues, but contrast that and drive that contrast of the dystopian vision that Donald Trump has to the future. It's a binary choice at the end of the day. And so we've got to drive that contrast even harder. And Trump didn't make that better tonight because he continued the lies and the grievances and the retribution.
Yes, Ramaswamy
that no
not
one
roll
wants
off the
to
tongue.
see
You're right.
moving
But
forward. He's all about the past. American
the
reverse.
fact
He
that
wants to bring
I
us
know
back
what it
to
is and how to say it and how to pronounce it,
world.
and
Voting
you know
rights,
how to
civil
spell
rights,
it,
LGBTQ rights, women's
and
rights,
his
access
first
to
name
abortion, access to
puts him
contraception. That's what we need to
already
talk about.
in very,
That's
very
what's on the
good
ballot.
territory for the.
Democracy,
I'll put
fate
that
and
way.
future of this country,
What do you
for that
think?
matter, alliances around the world. We need to buck up and focus on what's at stake and not navel gaze and not look back. You look forward.
I think this takes a lot of pressure off Trump.
Everything's about tomorrow.
In terms of bucking up and not navel gazing and moving forward,
to fall back if he fucked up.
If you were to advise the campaign how to turbocharge, how to kick up into another level, I do think they're going to have to make up ground they didn't previously have to make up because of this debate performance.
He's steady Eddie. He's just got to show up.
What can they do that they're not
doing?
Should they do the second debate in September? Should they change course in some of the ways that they are trying to communicate? I hear you making a very strong case for President Biden's record.
Third night or whatever the fuck.
I don't know what they should do to make that case more strongly than they have been.
We might get rumors.
Well, I think you just double down on what we're doing.
Another test to see how tight Trump's campaign is.
Across this
country.
I'm just doing my small part. There's hundreds and hundreds of us
so I can talk.
that will be going out. We have a clear.
A test of how good Trump's campaign cohesive, locked in, and how competent and efficient and ready to eviscerate the competition. You can see the health of his thing. If he waits to the very last moment, the very night of, to announce his VP, and there are no leaks and there are no backstabbing, I think that gives you a very clear indication. Whereas during this whole time period on the other side of the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, not the administration, the campaign, I think that you'll see their cohesion start to it's starting to buckle. It'll start to crack. Whereas Trump's, and in the upcoming weeks, if you see Trump's campaign looking fucking put together and sharp and with it and on it, and you see Biden's campaign start to fracture and kind of disintegrate before your eyes and kind of lose cohesion because they can't get behind and stand behind their dude, and they don't have that. That is something that we've all seen, that I've seen through a number of political campaigns, and it is an indicator that they are not in good health. I think that was kind of already known or suspected. I think that as we go forward and then next days, check out, see who has to issue more press releases to correct things, not just the standard Joe Biden gaffes and all that. I mean, in addition to campaign people stepping over each other because they make mistake after mistake after mistake because they don't have a coherent communications plan. They cannot prosecute the effective message that they want. And part of that message that they were going to lean heavy on was the fact that if you vote for Donald Trump, you are electing a traitor. You're electing a insurrectionist. All these negative things that they're not sticking. They're not sticking. I'm going to turn this back on. Then I'm going to probably rotate back to.
But it's not about debates. You have good moments. You have
Damn,
bad
they've had
moments.
him on
You
here
wake
for a
up
long
the next
time.
day, you dust it off, and you move forward. It's all about resiliency. That's what the American people are about. That's what the American economy is about. That's what Joe Biden's been about his entire life. I've seen this over and over, this movie before. Oh, Joe Biden should pack it up in the primaries.
This is funny. This is funny what he's saying. You have to be resilient and get yourself get up after you. He is using loser rhetoric. He is trying to control the message that you dust yourself off. These are the same people that have been like, Joe Biden has made a record-breaking economy. We got worker unions, we got worker protection, we got to fight for the right of abortion, all that. If he were winning, Gavin Newsom would be talking about the economy. He would not be talking about picking yourself up and resiliency and dusting yourself off. That's what losers. I'm not being malicious here. I'm being very dead serious. Serious as a heart attack. If your surrogate is talking about resiliency, and that's Gavin Newsom, one of the point men for the Democrat Party, up and coming dark horse in the 2028, not 2024. That's what you would say. That's what you would say. You are seeing a dying campaign before your eyes.
He had a couple of moments. I thought his answer on calling out Trump's criminality was pretty good. He was a little garbly on abortion. If you're the campaign, you're going to push out the best moments. There were a couple on social media. But it's not the debate they wanted. I think the biggest challenge for them, and Nicole's been talking about this.
All right, I'm going to call it.
In similar chairs is.
I don't think this is news breaking, but I will.
Going to be, which I'm getting.
Circle back, Psaki. That's a good Wisconsin name. One that you would have encountered. I lived in Wisconsin for a long time. Circle back, Psaki. Donald Trump won this debate. Hands down. I think I'm going to blend my view and Wisco's view. Wisco said that Biden got 2.3 and Trump got 3.5. I'm going to agree with that and say that Trump, even if you don't like Trump, you have to acknowledge that he won a full point. It wasn't a home run. It was a solid hit. It was a solid fucking hit. You know what? You put a W up. Trump put a W up on the board. It was a very slow moving game, not a very exciting game. Like baseball. This is what I'm thinking. It's like baseball. It's like a very slow game. Nothing really happens. Yep. It was Trump won by one. One by one, maybe two. So if Trump got 3, Biden got 2 or got 1. At least there wasn't no debate. Nobody died. There was a debate. I will say that for as much as I criticize it and I didn't like it, they did got in. It was a very orderly process. The only problem I have with that is if they're going to do that, they need to do hard-hitting questions every fucking time.
But it is a fact.
They only did like maybe 2 really hard-hitting questions and really stuck it to both of them. They could have done a much better job of that.
Obama's a competitive person.
If they're going to do this bullshit format,
maybe he will bring his best self forward, and we saw that in the post event. That's what they need to do, but the distraction and the chatter is a headache for them. And
what would you? I mean, if you were like on the campaign now, and you have all this chatter,
Joy Reid,
what we're all hearing in our text. What do you think in the next 24 to 48 hours would you do?
Well, what should he do? You've seen aides.
I really like her.
You saw Governor Newsom do.
I don't like her views.
Tiny bit at the end. I mean, he said at the beginning he.
I really need to work on that. I don't like her views. I don't know that. I don't know her from a person. Maybe she's a wonderful person. I need to be
People
fair.
have bad nights. It was not a good night for Joe Biden, right? I mean,
he was
great after. He was good at the State of the Union, but it wasn't a good debate.
If her public perception is reality,
you let people take a little air out of the balloon. You're not living in La La Land. It wasn't a great debate. You have to have him out there and active and doing a lot of events and being very visible, right? And Nicole said this earlier, the best thing you can do as a communicator if you're advising him is change the subject, right? Is there an announcement you can make?
I don't know what that means.
Is there a Republican who's a surprise?
99 views. I don't know what that
waiting
means.
The wings to endorse tomorrow is the day. So, I don't know what they have up their sleeves, but that's what they need. I will also say, and I don't know the answer to this, so I'm posing it to you all know, I don't know when the vice president agreed to come on MSNBC. I don't know if it was long before the debate, perhaps. If it wasn't, you don't send the vice president of the United States out if you won the debate. Typically, so they are.
These are other things. These are other signs that Biden is.
We knew we were going to get the vice
okay.
president before.
Well,
we thought at least we were going to get the vice president.
I post that, but I do think that you'll see her out there more. I think you should see him out there more, and they need people like Governor Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer and Wes Moore and all these people out on the airwaves. That's what they need.
On the vice president question, though, obviously the most important role of the vice president is to be the understudy in the case of the worst for the president. And so,
you know, what would be really interesting. Interesting to see if Biden's numbers.
I mean, putting her out on debate night also makes people think about her replacing Joe Biden.
Because Kamala's a fucking joke.
That's interesting because I do think when people chatter about replacing him, they don't always mention Vice President Harris, and they should. I mean, she's the Vice President of the United States, right? She is first in line. People think about a brokered convention, what that might look like, right? And so I also think it's important for the
debates for America belong to the American people, not a corporation.
With him and has his back and believes he has what it takes to be president. So that outweighs the
hey, we're all talking with our hands, and let's talk about how great Biden was.
And bullshit.
Jen, inside the campaign,
fucking hilarious.
Who says what to the candidate about this debate?
It's such a good question, Lawrence, and I know because you've done these meetings. It's like you never want to be the person.
I gotta say, I'm kind of impressed by Facebook's
Obama bombed that debate.
The way they do live and things.
He wasn't aware he bombed the debate, right? And
they never are.
They never are.
Few steps above
They're in the moment.
Of course, Twitter's is fucking dog shit.
He did not know that he bombed out against
dog shit, barely.
He bombed out against Romney.
Wow.
YouTube's is
David Plouffe, who was just on the air earlier, and David Axelrod, two of the closest advisors, were the ones who went and told him.
Well, I haven't got a copyright strike or a
hit. He didn't watch it for a couple of days, and then he knew I did not do well in the
Gotta
debate.
be doing something. I gotta log in the studio here.
He gave one of the best performances at a rally the next day in
Colorado.
I want to think the entire year because again, they're
I would like to
people.
think
I would say in this
the
moment,
few people who decided to subscribe.
It is probably a combination of Mike Donilon, and Steve Ricchetti, perhaps. Ron Klain, of course,
something here because it never does it.
Who are conveying directly to him how that debate performance went, and where it goes from here.
Doing the debate this early was a campaign idea, or was it his idea?
I wonder what.
I think likely a campaign idea that he would have to have signed off.
I wonder if that holds me up.
I gotta say, I am not convinced. And I know you're going to disagree with me on this, but I am not convinced that it was a bad idea to do the
Gretchen Whitmer and the whole kidnapping plot was orchestrated by the FBI.
Let's not look like we're afraid to debate.
That is not conspiracy theory. That is fucking. And you know what? Most of them.
A lot more water will be under the bridge by the time anybody has to make any sort of decision based on this. I mean,
it was as fraudulent as when the bullshit Republicans in Colorado brought a suit
from the standpoint of the
and it went all the way to the Colorado Supreme Court to kick Trump off the ballot because of insurrection. Despite there being no conviction, and their argument was that the whatever amendment was self.
It's got like a July 4th kind of timing vibe. It made logical
flagrantly
sense.
illegal.
The problem is they didn't deliver. I mean,
thankfully,
I think had he
they set that right.
And actually delivered a vigorous, even just a
they would have done the
decent
same
sort of
way if it was a bunch of liberals.
It would have been a very smart idea, but I think some of the decisions around it. I think putting him on the right, I still will maintain. I know it seems like a small thing. I think was the wrong decision. If you had the first point,
what you're going to see Biden do? Watch Biden in the next week or two. If he doesn't announce some kind of copycat Trump.
Or told him to just look the other direction. I mean,
like he did with, he brought back the Remain in Mexico. He brought back the tariffs on China, EVs. He locked them out. He actually went a step further than Trump.
He wasn't president. He was on the
Watch him like pull down some other Trump-like policy.
He knows where the red light is. He knows where the camera is. He knows how to perform. So going against him, you needed to,
making weed legal at a federal level isn't working. Although you can do that. Commuting sentences didn't work. What are some other fucking bullshit kind of Panderbear, Panderbear, fucking bullshit he can do.
Gadi Schwartz. Gadi.
Fascinating stuff at the top of your hour because this
and you know what the thing about Gretchen Whitmer is? She is going to be in 2028. She's going to be running.
And after we were done watching the debate, you're over here, TVs are over here. They don't have IFBs in, and so as
Why don't they have
we're talking about the possibility of somebody else other than
what
Biden
kind of woke
running
bullshit
on
is
the
this?
Democratic ticket or possibly an open convention. They were talking about this same thing, and they are completely removed from these spin rooms and everything that's happening over there in Atlanta right now. It's just really interesting to hear you all talk about that, to hear you all talk about that, all at the same time. So,
call out
first
what they
off,
are.
I want to get your perspective and whether or not it changed. But when we set this up, we were talking about double haters, the people that don't like either candidate.
Now they're trying to drum up unenthusiastic voter bullshit.
Starting with you.
Oh, so Trump, he didn't really answer questions. He just kept rebuttaling what Biden said or bringing up something that has nothing to do with the question. Biden, he was trying to answer the questions, but he also was trying to rebuttal Trump as well when he was, coming at him about things that has nothing to do with the question, like, golfing or things like that.
Yeah, I thought, Julie, I saw you get pretty heated when they started talking about golf.
Yeah, because why are you talking about golfing? This is a political debate about presidency and how are you going to be in the office, how it's going to be. And are you talking about
understand presidents fucking golf when they solve problems when they golf.
That's when I wanted to tune out.
Not all the time.
I was just like, wow. These guys.
That's how this is conducted.
You're not a Democrat.
And what does golf have to do with
about who else can the Democrats
I guess
run
that was
right
just
now?
an operator.
Tell me a little bit about your thinking there.
So
I don't understand it.
I think what we just witnessed was the feeling I had inside was Trump, hell no. He lied through the whole thing. And Biden, it's like, oh no. He is really in a bad shape, and can he even run in the rest of the election or take the White House again? I just don't see how that would work. So yeah, maybe an open convention is
open convention. The Democrats
let's get the one minority in the crowd and have her way. And
could you vote for?
That's what CNN, MSNBC with all the other rest. Yes, that's why.
Liars and cheats. Yeah,
I was going to comment.
Choice, and I think you said it best. But
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, Trump is an absolute no. He's a liar and a thief,
but I know
where
you're
and
going.
all those other things. It's just not acceptable. That's the way I was brought up. You don't lie and take accountability for yourself. At least Biden's that way. He seems like an honorable and honest guy, but I don't think he's got the...
Oh, and you can't say minority anymore. You have to say people of color.
You just made an observation when Biden popped up. Can you share with us your observation there?
Well, it was interesting because before this started, we had talked about who's going to show up today. Which Biden is
I would not do one of these things. I would do what I'm doing now.
That kind of a show. And I feel
like
when Trump was speaking,
God,
he's got that orange skin. And
I can get away with fucking streaming.
He moves his hands like this, and I want
the entirety. Not the entirety. I did not take all of the CNN debate. I waited.
Himself on the back so much. And here's Biden, unfortunately, poor thing.
But it doesn't matter. It belongs to me as the American citizen.
Like the puppet master was like,
that's fair use. I really don't give a shit what the lawyer says or what the law says. I don't really give a shit.
His eyes were glazed. It was like
it's not like I have control over any of my accounts anyway.
I think
if YouTube wanted to crush me tomorrow, they could. Facebook crush me tomorrow. Twitter, they could crush me. The only one they couldn't crush would be Substack, which is why I have it.
It's like
and Substack is getting better all the time. Pretty soon they're going to be able to do live streaming. I would love to do that there, but I need to get more people. Got to have more people than just my mom.
You're all talking about open conventions.
Making fun of myself a little bit because I have nobody really following me on Substack. So if you could be a pal. If you could be a buddy. If you could be a friend. And you like what you see, and I haven't offended you too much. If you could please follow me on Twitter, please. ApeIt_Ink on Twitter, SofaKingJewish on YouTube. I'm not giving my Facebook out, although I am streaming out to it. Nobody watches it though.
For this job
of
president, I think you did a fine
job. But really, Substack, my website www.ape.
He's just not good enough for president.
How about you, Nicole?
.it.
I mean, I look at who we have right now, and there's just
www.apeit.ink.
For me to consider somebody else, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at leadership characteristics.
Now,
I would love to get a lot more subscribers on Substack.
On bringing it up because I don't want you to get all kinds of hate from people, but it's the idea of I don't like any of these candidates, so I may not vote, but I'm scared of people saying, no,
I live
you
in
have to
Wisconsin.
vote.
I
And
didn't
that
know the
seems to
correct
be a
term.
real
Sorry.
concern.
Oh, the paid actors.
Are you guys comfortable
Oh, for
chatting
what?
about
For
that?
what?
I mean, like,
I'm sorry, I didn't pick up.
Nicole, like, is there a possibility that you just
I have had a
Right
couple
now,
beers, so I might be a
absolutely.
little bit
I
behind
was
the.
back in
All is forgiven. We're all
2016,
good.
it was
We're all
all
good.
that
We're American
chatter
citizens here.
You know, it's your American right, and it's your due diligence, and if you don't vote, then you're voting for the other person, and all of this that really had my husband and I prayerfully considering, like, who do we vote for? And with the two choices we have now, we don't.
Oh, minority.
We don't vote
Oh,
for them.
minority.
And
Oh, I'm
I'm
teasing. I'm
confident
teasing. I'm teasing.
Not voting for either of them than I can trying
I
to.
don't mean anything by that.
Two evils last time, and January 6th happened.
I'm making fun
I cannot and will not do
of
it
the
again.
hard left people who are the pronoun people, who are the
came up, I saw you all
take offense at every little fucking slight it could happen in the world. You know, the people that aren't fun, unfun people.
Stop saying that it's Nancy Pelosi's fault. Start taking. Former President Trump needs to take accountability for his part in this as well.
For what?
I don't even want to go there because it just riles me so much that our country and our public buildings were just so defiled in that because he keeps saying that the election was stolen from him.
Sweetheart, you're gonna have to use your words, sweetie. Use your word, and I am being condescending here.
For the American people,
put your anger into words that I can understand. You're upset about J6?
There was another moment where I was watching you very intently as you all were watching the debate, and I saw a lot of you lean forward when he.
What do you think? People just got away with it?
Right?
No, they didn't. They didn't fuck around.
Leaning forward, and then
United States government, the federal government, did not fuck around with anybody in J6. They put people in fucking jail. They rolled up to them. They arrested them at work. They embarrassed the shit out of them. They are felons now. Those people who did J6 are not going to do it again. They can't. All good. No, we're all good. I was just. I try to be funny. It's hard to nowadays with sarcasm.
Like, hey, this is the question. So it's just like.
I mean, they are minorities. A black person is a minority. A Jew is a minority. Do I consider myself a minority? Not really. Because I'm white, right? I'm the enemy.
Jeff, did you see or hear?
I'm the white man. I am the enemy.
I don't know that Trump has.
I say that with joking. I don't think that I'm the enemy. I don't feel like I'm persecuted because of my white skin color. I don't think that. Nobody really thinks that.
Those policies if you return.
But if you listen to some hard left people,
open convention,
or if you're a white liberal woman in the suburbs,
non-Democrats talking about open convention. One of the other things
you might have a very different opinion.
You know, a lot of times when people are watching politics,
January 6th was also aided and fueled by the FBI. They had to hold a meeting on who had the informants in the crowd.
3 questions.
I absolutely do believe that there were FBI informants or FBI people in the crowd. To what capacity, I don't know, but there was. There is more than enough factual evidence that there was, because they won't answer those questions.
What part just turned you off completely?
I also saw, I don't know, I need to dig deeper on this one. Never mind J6. J6 was horrible, whatever. It was a riot, it was a whatever. The thing that I care about was, and it's still at large, someone put a pipe bomb in front of the RNC and somebody put a pipe bomb in front of the DNC.
Second graders having a slugfest on the playground.
And with that, I will ask you, Denise,
has not been solved.
Who did you vote for?
They don't have anybody in cuffs. Never mind the idiots, the grandma and grandpas and all that other bullshit that they got whipped up and Capitol Police let them in. Never mind that. Never mind that. Never mind that. No, there were pipe bombs planted in front of the DNC and the RNC.
Well, that would make for a very interesting broker convention at your breakfast bar in Maricopa County.
Why is that not solved?
The only declared candidate that would really give.
But they want to put all the attention on Trump. We don't even know if the person who did that was for Trump or not, or for Biden, or we don't know anything. You know why? Because they haven't solved fucking shit. What are you doing, FBI?
I'm really, really glad that we did that.
That was the threat to me. In my mind, that was the serious threat, and I'm very upset that hasn't been taken care of or remedied.
The first voter who spoke with there,
it has the fingerprints of them.
It was
they hate
that they were talking
Republicans
about
and the Democrats.
Trump was not answering any questions. Biden at least tried to answer.
Could have been it could have been
his answer was
I don't know.
Trump,
I don't want to speculate too much.
absolutely no way.
Although I will say, when I was covering the shootings in Russia,
no way he's a thief
horrible,
and a
horrible
rapist.
event.
Hell no. But then his answer on Biden was
the audience that I had that day called
he's an
it
honorable
from
person, but he seems like he's in bad
kickoff
shape.
before anybody knew
Third
anything.
person said Trump just lied.
It was Islamist. It was
constantly.
Islamist.
She wanted
It was
to put
Islamist. Islamofascist.
symbols between his
Islamofascist. And it
hands,
was.
so they would like
It
a
was.
monkey doing the wind-up
People
monkey thing.
who watch me are
Trump
very,
lying all the time. But
very
about
smart.
Biden, she said poor things.
You guys are
Describing
very,
him
very
as
smart.
being essentially inanimate.
Hell no versus oh no might be the theme.
Yeah.
Why? Because you are used to people not shoveling you horseshit and making up your own fucking mind.
Joe Biden focus group as you could have with those.
10K views.
This is probably,
I don't know what the fuck that means.
The ballot is going to be Trump versus Biden.
Yeah.
So there's probably 3 Biden voters if they go to the polls and make that choice.
To me, this is a breath of fresh air because I've been covering the nerd thing, and there's only so many times, so many videos I can talk about the Acolyte and Disney and Star Wars and woke.
There you see it. You know that Republican guy.
But to be clear, to be fair though,
to have at many times
politics has been pretty fucking boring because we've had this. We've had the same fucking situation for the last
the lesser of 2 evils
10 years
before we knew how evil it could be.
Trump versus
and so if you give him, if that's his choice, he's going to go with Joe Biden, no matter what Joe Biden's stamina level is.
Right. MSNBC is utterly fucking
hope. And in the meantime,
CNN had at least some more interesting people.
Educational programs of the campaign.
I'm going to flip back over there.
Actions can occur that can be severe.
Might have another.
About newer
I don't know how long I've
problems, such as eye pain or vision changes, including.
Well, fuck your commercials. This is just give me a little bit more chance to promote my channel a little bit more. You know, if you like what you see, I do this when I can. Typically, if there's like something big going on, I do plan on doing another debate. I think it would be really cool to cover maybe a target of opportunity, a chance to flow into a like a Trump campaign thing after this, or a Biden one. You know, that's one thing. I know Biden has got to have done. Here's a question for the audience. And then I'll bring up your other question and I'll answer that here in a minute, Wisco. What do you hasn't Biden done rallies before? Like, he's done that this year, hasn't he? I just realized that I don't recall seeing any headlines about that. I've seen a bunch for Trump. I don't know that I've seen any headlines for Biden doing rallies. I'm sure he has. But I'll have to check into that. All right. Question: do you know about Ruby? Yes, I'm very yes, Ruby Ridge, as well as McVeigh, as well as the Waco. Very, very well versed on that. Which not a right-wing conspiracy theory. The FBI, in retrospect, has horrible optics related to Waco. Never mind Ruby Ridge, which was also a catastrophe for them. But the optics on that side, not so good. I'm not saying that people needed to be shot or whatever. The Waco people were fucking nuts and crazy. They could have taken them peacefully if they really wanted to have, but they didn't. And that's history. You don't take my word for it. Why would the FBI change their taxes if you know about Ruby Ridge? They don't. They don't have to change shit. Look, at the end of the day, if you are wanted by the U.S. government for any reason, you will lose. 100% of the time, you will lose. You will absolutely lose. That is why you don't fight. If the cops at your door, you don't fight. If the FBI comes to your door, you don't fight. You call a lawyer. If you can afford a lawyer. You just don't fight. You can't. It doesn't work that way. Oh, what is this? Oh, here they're going to fact checks.
Billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know Trump made foolish comments about scientists studying.
Oh, now they're actually telling the truth?
But didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the Border Patrol
You
endorsed
fucking
him.
CNN, you were not saying this fucking back in the day.
Himself, in fairness, the president.
You guys trafficked in lies and bullshit
the Trump
and
list
attributed things to Trump. Ooh, now they're cleaning up house.
He said some Democratic states allow people to
now we're getting the truth.
Babies after birth, an egregious lie that is illegal in every state.
I'm not saying that Trump doesn't
even
lie.
Democrats who wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. Roe was supported by 2/3
You'd be a
of
fool
Americans,
to not think
even
that
more
Trump
Democrats.
doesn't lie.
He said every legal scholar who wanted Roe overturned, abortion returned to the states. Legal scholars have told me directly this is not true. He said the U.S. currently has the biggest budget deficit ever. No, that happened under Trump in 2020. He said the U.S. currently has a record trade deficit with China. That also happened under Trump in 2018. He said Biden personally gets a lot of money from China. Zero evidence of this. He said there were no terror attacks during his presidency. In fact, there were multiple attacks. He said Iran didn't fund Hamas, Hezbollah, other terror groups under his presidency. Iran, in fact, did. He said Biden wants to quadruple people's taxes. That is pure fiction. He said the U.S. has provided way more aid to Ukraine than Europe had. It's actually the opposite. He said the U.S. has provided about $200 billion in Ukraine aid. It's closer to $110 billion. He said 18
on what fucking planet are you on? Bullshit.
Too high.
America has absolutely given more money to Ukraine than the EU.
Cannot corroborate this. He said
Get
Biden has
fucked.
only created jobs for illegal immigrants. Total nonsense. He said Nancy Pelosi turned down his offer of 10,000 National Guard troops on January 6th. There's no evidence she even got such an offer. It was the president, not Pelosi, who had the power to deploy the D.C. Guard. He said Pelosi now acknowledges she turned down the troops. No, her office tells me this claim is still a lie.
He said
he deployed the National Guard to Minneapolis in 2020. Actually, that was the Democratic governor. He spoke of, quote, ridiculous fraud in the 2020 election. Zero evidence of any widespread fraud. He said NATO was going out of business before he took office. Completely, clearly absurd. He said the U.S. was paying 100% of NATO before he came along. The U.S. made up about 71% of NATO defense spending, not 100. He said he, not Biden, is the one who lowered insulin prices in Medicare. He did it for some seniors, but Biden did it for far more. He said Biden indicted him. Again, no evidence Biden has had a personal role in any of these 4 prosecutions. He said Europe takes no U.S. cars, just not true. He spoke of food prices quadrupling under Biden. That's a wild exaggeration, though they are up.
All right.
He said Biden
this is getting
the
boring.
idea he called dead
They're
service
just
members
covering
suckers and losers.
none of this shit. None of their fact check is going to
and then former Trump Chief of Staff John Kelly corroborated it. He said Biden called black people, quote, super predators for 10 years. Biden never once deployed that phrase, let alone for 10 years. So he did at least once speak of, quote, predators without specifying it was about black people. He said his Trump tax cut was the largest in U.S. history. Not true, though. In fairness, Biden also
BBC.
said this.
You know what?
Trump
Fuck
said China and
CBC
others stopped buying from Iran under him. China never stopped. He revived his pet lie. I don't know how many.
Coalition sponsored focus group recently, and none of the focus group members, when
see what the international
either
people are
about
saying,
democracy or about Trump's term, ever even brought up the words January 6th. And so while it is the reason for Joe Biden to want to win this election, it can't be the how of how he wins this election. He has to focus on the economic issues that matter to broad swaths of Americans, and especially to those independent voters who aren't necessarily remembering what happened 3 years ago.
Wow.
On January
6th.
A
Democrat congresswoman who's being fucking truthful.
Factor for their vote.
I would vote for her if you were in my.
Do you think President Biden did a good job?
If you're going to be honest with me, I don't care what party you are. I will
that
vote
you're
for you.
mentioning there.
All right, I'll put your latest set up here.
The good news is that
people are afraid of Trump because he's a nationalist. We have
and I think that was
pleased the whole entire world since the 1940s. We don't need to do it anymore. I'm sorry, but America first. Of course. There is nothing wrong with being nationalistic and a patriot for your country. There is nothing wrong with that. The hard left tries to make you feel guilty for that, and then they try to add adjectives in front of that. They try to make it out what it is.
President who
what do they say? They say Christian nationalist.
Who will protect the rights.
They put up memes of The Handmaid's Tale and say that women will be put in cattle cars and they'll be made to be breeders and all this salacious horseshit.
On the point about accepting the election
all
results
untrue.
Come November, whatever
Clearly.
they may be. The president had to be asked that a few times.
And I'm a Jew. I would fucking know if somebody's
going to
put me in a fucking boxcar.
Fair,
I would fucking know. I would fucking know. Just like most people would fucking know.
He responded to that.
Well, he's being honest. If the election results come back fairly, he's going to accept them. I mean, obviously, the American people accept election results. I remember my first opponent in 2012 didn't concede, but it didn't make me any less of a congressman when I raised my right hand and got sworn in. Similarly with Joe Biden. But Democrats, I've watched them question election results and, frankly, President Trump's own election many, many times. This is not a Republican-only issue. It's an issue that really frustrates me as somebody who is really focused on election integrity in this country. And I believe we in America have the safest, fairest election system in the world. And it pains me that Republicans and Democrats don't recognize that.
Are you concerned yourself about what might happen after the election results later this year, if it's so close?
I'm concerned because I certainly hope that we here in Washington
let me read this out. Read your words out first.
leading
That's
up to
why they
election
compared Trump to
January
Hitler.
6th
Hitler
and
was a
corrected
nationalist
them.
first,
I'm concerned,
but on a fucked up scale.
frankly, more
Obviously.
so
This
about
is
the
what I'm talking
violence that
about.
may ensue if Joe Biden loses and
The
Democrats
left will
who
take
support
a
him
common
and
milquetoast
the far
bland
left who
term or
support him
word,
don't accept
and they'll
the
try to
election
redefine
results
it.
than I am about another
They have a history of this.
pro-Donald
This
Trump
is not new,
January 6th.
but they have been particularly strong
Stephanie, do you want to
point
jump in
of
there?
emphasis over the last several
I would
years.
just say that, I do
Nationalist
worry that if
equals
this is a
bad.
close
That is
election,
not
that
true.
the
And then you
strains
see
of
how
political
the
violence
mainstream,
that still
the
exist within
left-wing
our
media
system will be
portrays the
reignited, and I
right-wing
think that
parties
is a
in Europe.
concern for me.
They
But
try to
my
make them out like
hope
they're the
is
future
that the
Nazis,
American people understand that we
Nazi,
have an incredibly strong
right-wing,
democratic system that
ultra
was resilient
right-wing.
the
They try to
last time
use
somebody tried to
adjectives
manipulate
that
it.
add an edge of
But
danger
it's
or
core to our democracy
edgelordness
to have the voters and
to
our American
the
citizens
language.
believe in the system.
On top
And
of a
we have a
woman
good
can be a
system. There are
man,
lots of checks and
a man can be
balances.
a
There
woman.
are
What
ways
is a
to
woman?
appeal if
What does it mean?
you think there's
Da, da, da,
something
da,
wrong.
you know,
But when all of those
I'm
court
not
cases get settled, Americans
I'm
must
poking
accept the
the
outcome of
bear
the
here
election.
pretty strongly.
We did hear Joe Biden mention, of course, that Donald Trump is a convicted felon. What did you think, Stephanie, of how that played out? Would you have expected the president to perhaps make more of that charge?
What do you think about basic income programs like St. Louis is trying to do?
I think
I am not aware of any
the
of UBI in St. Louis. What I am aware of,
help
there was a
President Trump raise
$200,000
money,
grant that the city of St.
and
Louis did.
polling
And you have to
shows
understand that the
it
city of
really
St. Louis
didn't
is
have
separate
the
from the
kind
county of St. Louis.
impact, the
The
negative
city of St.
impact
Louis is like
among
300K people, something
former
like that.
President Trump's base that
Not all
people
that
thought it might have. In
fucking
fact,
tiny
it
compared to what it was
fired
back
it
in the
up.
past.
He raised a bunch of
The
money
county
on it. They're
is
even selling
much
T-shirts
bigger.
that say "I'm with the felon."
The only
So the
UBI
full
type
embrace of
program
that
that I'm
status.
aware of
I'm not
is
sure it hurt him in
here
the
in
way that
Missouri, there's a huge
it
problem
would
with
have
property tax.
in normal
In the state of
political
Missouri, you have to pay your
circumstances.
personal property tax in order to get your car licensed
And of course,
and to
the
get your
president
tag.
does intend to
If
appeal
you
that
don't have
conviction
that, then
from New York
you
anyway.
fall out of
Robbie,
compliance.
what's going to
And
happen
it's very
now? I mean,
easy
from the
to.
Republican
You either get
perspective,
a
we're still
2-year tag
going
or a
to find out
1-year
who's
tag.
going to be on the ticket with
But
Donald
what
Trump.
I have
He said
heard,
he's
what I've
more than
read,
likely going to
is that
reveal
they
that
did a
at the
very special
convention.
one-off
He's got a rally in
200K
Virginia
grant
tomorrow, as
program
we heard earlier.
that would give,
His
quote
campaign
unquote, a
thinks that potentially
loan
might be in play. Where does
to
he go
very
from here?
poor citizens who didn't have the
Well,
afford the ability to
going to Virginia is
title
something I
and
didn't have
license
on
their
my
car.
bingo card after the first debate. I would have thought as a Republican,
There are not
Virginia
many
was
St. Louis
off the
people in the
map,
county and the
especially if
city
Donald
that are
Trump is our
happy about that.
nominee.
Because
The sheer fact that it is
you're not
considered
helping
right
them.
now
It helps
should,
some people,
again, spark a lot of fear into
but what
Democrat
about the year
circles
after that?
today.
And the
I
year after
certainly
that?
think
And the
there's
year
going
after
to be a
that? And the
lot
year
of
after that?
optimism on the Republican side. Again, I watched this debate with about 30 of my former Republican
There was a
colleagues
lawsuit
right
filed by
here
2
about 2
gentlemen
blocks from
that
the
say it
Capitol
violates
building,
Missouri's constitution.
and
that
they
St.
are
Louis is trying
giddy.
to
They are giddy about an
I have no doubt.
opportunity to win back the White House
I have not heard of
and
that.
be
I
able
would
to
not
take
doubt
the
that,
Senate
though.
with
I would not doubt
favorable
you if
map that
you
exists,
told me that.
and
I
they
would not doubt
believe
that.
that because of Donald
The
Trump,
city of
because
St.
of the low
Louis
propensity
has a lot
Donald
of
Trump
goofy
only
fucking
voters,
people.
that
They're
they
all
can
Democrats.
win seats that are
They
considered
are either a
competitive right
hard
now
left
and get a
progressive
unified
and
government.
dumb ones at that,
And
or
that's
they
going
are
to
a
allow them to
bog standard
extend
Democrat.
and renew the Trump
Uh,
because there is going
Shashara
to be
Jones, who is the current
Republican
mayor,
optimism
and I
after
apologize if I
tonight
got her name
that
wrong.
I don't think
She is
I
just a
ever
regular
imagined
Democrat.
when we talked about this
She's in it to win it. She doesn't want to rock the boat.
Before it
Kim
happened.
Gardner, hard left. And by the way, Kim Gardner got kicked the fuck out of office because of all her bullshit. She was the circuit attorney, our version of a district attorney, and she was a pro-crime Kim, is what they called her here.
on Saturday.
The participants were guaranteed $500 a month to help pay their
Well,
bills.
he has to keep campaigning hard and
It wasn't the registering your car, I don't think. No, you're probably right. I have just not heard of anything like that.
And as well as trying to raise money. And I'm sure
even
that
if
some
they
of
did
those
pass it
campaign stops
or whatever, if they could,
opportunities for
one,
him
it would
to
get held up in the
reassure
courts.
his
Missouri's a very
Democratic
red
base, especially his donors, that he is up to this
you go
job.
the
And
epicenter
so,
of St. Louis
the
City
campaign
is
marches
blue,
on.
the
It's
darkest blue
only
you could imagine.
June. I think a lot of the
Northern
swing
St. Louis
voters don't really
City
pick their
and
heads
that
up and pay
congressional
attention
district
to
is
the
Cory
race
Bush's
until
turf.
closer into actual
She will be
election
beat.
day in the
She
fall.
will not be in office next year. I can concretely
And
say
just
that
very
with
briefly
authority.
to both of you, after
If
tonight,
Cory
from
Bush
both
were to
perspectives,
win,
both
then maybe
campaigns,
they
do you
would pick
think
up a
we
little bit more
will
on the
see that
progressive
second
bullshit.
debate
But
taking place?
Leslie
Stephanie?
Bell is running for her
I think
seat.
it's hard to
She's
back
going to
away
get
from a
fucking
commitment to
nuked.
debate with and be able to
Nuked.
control the narrative around it.
For
So
the
I
primary,
imagine
I
that
think
that
for St.
debate is
Louis,
going to go
for that
forward,
congressional
and
district,
hopefully in the next debate, the
early
president
August.
won't be struggling with a cold or
I'll have
whatever
to
it is that
look
his
up what you
campaign
say
said
about
was
the
the reason
UBI
his
in
voice
St.
was
Louis.
a little
I
difficult to
wouldn't doubt.
understand.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Okay. Rodney, what do you think?
I've got a cold right now, so you can't really trust my response. But yes, the second debate will
Poor man
happen.
has a cold.
Very good. Well, we will be talking about that, no doubt, when it's due to take place on the 10th of September. There is due to be a vice presidential debate as well, of course, but we don't yet know who the Republican vice president will be. I don't know if you have any insights.
It's time.
They're doing commercials.
Yes, the time has come for a fresh
We'll hit
approach
back.
to dog food. Every day, more
They
dog
are
people
also
are
good.
deciding it's time to quit the kibble and feed their dogs fresh food from the farmer's dog. Made by
That is what the American people saw tonight, a plan for national renewal.
Guys, thank you both. All right, that's all the time we have
Hannity.
left this evening. Thank you for being with us. Set your DVR so you never ever miss an episode of Hannity.
I can't fuck with Hannity. I
Afraid
can't
they'll
do
be
it.
put in jail
I
for
can't do it.
doing the job of caring for these women. So I think that what Donald Trump is doing is grasping for straws. And look, they're only of the two
Jesse
people on that
Waters
debate stage,
isn't too bad. You know
only
what?
one
He's
of them
fucking
has the
funny.
endorsement of
That's
his
what
vice
he is.
president.
He's funny.
And let's
Or he
not forget
can be
that.
funny. He's not like
Let's not forget that.
Very awkward and
I like
very true.
Tucker Carlson
Vice
better.
President Kamala Harris.
I'll say
privileged
this
to have
about
time with
him.
you tonight. Thank you very much for your time, Madam.
He's entertaining.
Good to be with you guys. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a lot more questions to ask her. I want to do a
None of
much
these
longer
people were
interview with her.
saints.
We only had a couple of minutes.
She just became so much more important to
Yeah.
this campaign
Yeah,
than she
absolutely.
was yesterday.
Oh
What we
shit!
just heard
Are they
in her
just saying
first
that Kamala
response
did a
to you
really good job?
Was more powerful,
What the
clearer,
fuck?
stronger than anything we heard from her running mate tonight.
Holy shit!
And in her second response.
Oh, they're
And
fucked.
so that was the
Biden campaign
kind
is
of
fucked.
thing people were hoping for from President Biden on the stage tonight.
Fuck.
She just delivered it. And the question becomes for the campaign starting tomorrow. Obviously, Joe Biden needs this kind of support. He needs others to be out there more than
Let's
any
see.
other
Let me
presidential
try to put
candidate
myself in
maybe
Biden's
ever
shoes.
has. He needs others to be out there doing this campaign work.
What would Biden
She's the
need
one
to
who can
do
get the
to
most
recapture the
attention
lead?
as a campaign.
How do you weave the vice president's
Stop the bleeding.
skills, including her communication skills, which we just saw on blast right
Excuse
there?
me.
How do you weave those with the president's in a way that doesn't upstage him and that doesn't make people want to replace him with
You
him?
cannot anymore worry about that old idea of
If
upstaging
Biden would
the
have stepped
president.
down,
That
I would have
whole
respected
situation.
him way
You know,
more.
Historically, the
He's too old.
most
I'm not.
active use of vice presidential
Yeah, no,
candidates has been as
I actually
attackers,
said
attackers
something
of the other
similar.
side. There are some examples. Harry Truman.
I said
in
around springtime, I said
1944
that the
was
best
brought in
play
literally
that
for
Democrats
energy,
could do
literally
would be to
to
give
go out there.
Kamala
He
as
was
much
kind of an
time
attacker, but
in the
he was
gauntlet on the
also
campaign
this
trail as
energy
possible.
source that FDR just could
Then
not
she will
ever
either
deliver,
rise or fall.
as a campaigner.
But can
This
you
is a
imagine
situation
like
where
a
you're
resharpened
just going to have to
Kamala
give her the
that is
ball,
at
let
least
her do more of
50%
that.
better than
But
she
let
is
me just add
today?
one more thing. If we had said to her,
If she
I asked you a question,
is
you
of
have 2
stock
minutes to
that
respond.
can
We're going to cut your
learn
mic.
and
We're
adapt
going to cut
and
your
do
mic
that,
at the end of the 2 minutes.
her
That would be a
campaigning
lot
for president was
stiffer. It would not
pathetic.
be as fluid. It would not be as confident. To be
Had
a lot more
Biden stepped
pressure to
down and let
change
Kamala
that debate
take
stage,
over,
changes everything.
It could have given the Democrats a whole different direction.
Biden campaign has been using her that way.
They could have picked a new VP.
As much, but
They could have
Vice
been like,
President Harris has been all
woman,
over this
woman,
country.
woman,
She
woman.
is the primary voice they use
They
on
could
college
look at
campuses.
us.
She's
Look
been
at
the
that old
voice they've been
GOP.
using
They're still
really
running an
heavily
old
in the
white
black
guy. We
community.
traded our guy
She
out.
is
We
the
got rid
one
of
who
him.
they've been sending out because she is a voice
They could have
that is younger,
easily had
that
a lot
is
more
more
fun
approachable for
rhetoric
younger
and
audience. So they're using her that way anyway. And one of the
communication
big
strategy
criticisms
than
of
they
the
have.
Biden White House
Had they
is that
kept
they kind of
Biden,
hid her for 2 years and really didn't use her that much and really didn't allow her.
And I already
because of this
said I
whole
would have
issue
had
that
more
she's going
respect
to
for
upstage
Biden if
President
he would have
Biden.
forced
But I
Kathy
think the
Hochul
reality
to
is
pardon
her
Trump.
role,
Because then
as
Trump
Lawrence
would have
just
been
said,
like, fuck.
it just
He would have
went
been
up
fucked.
so much higher.
Because
It's
I
really
don't know that
important
Trump
that
knows
they
how to be
allow her to
graceful.
be herself because she
Can you
is
imagine if
personable.
President
She is a great
Biden
communicator.
pardoned Trump,
And at
even
this
if he wouldn't,
point,
even
she
if it
is
meant
the figure
nothing?
on the campaign.
Yeah.
She's
If
the
he would
figure on the
have Trump,
ticket, and she's
if
the person
Biden
who
would
can
have
reassure
pardoned
folks
Trump,
that, look,
okay, I
President
know it's
Biden's a great
crazy
decision
to
maker.
say.
He
If
may not be
Biden
the
would
most
have
energetic
pardoned
dude in the
Trump,
world, but he's got this lady.
and
Also
he would have
making
been like,
decisions. They're
Hochul,
making
take
decisions
one for the
together. He
team,
is the
pardon
partner in the
Biden,
administration
pardon
as
Trump.
he was to Barack
Give
Obama.
him,
Yeah, I mean, they also
get rid of that
used her
felony on his record.
abortion rights. By they used her, it's also about her choice on what she goes out there and
Right,
does.
get in
And
there.
I think it took
Biden
her
would have
some
won the election.
time in the first year or two to figure
He didn't
out
do that.
what her
Too late
space
now.
and role was, right? What it was going to be. And
They
the,
would
the
have gone
best
with Gavin.
presidential and vice
They still
presidential
might.
partnerships publicly, I mean, in terms of what they do publicly, is where they have different strengths.
Yeah.
Joe Biden is clearly not super comfortable talking about abortion rights beyond his strong defense of Roe. That is not where Chris is nodding here.
I mean, that's the understatement of the century, but yes, continue.
It's clearly, she is very comfortable.
He's very Catholic.
And he's very Catholic. She is very comfortable. She's passionate. I mean, she almost got a tear to her eye, which, by the way, is how millions of women are feeling across the country. They should have her out on
but what's going
every
to happen
morning
is
show.
it's
I
going
know
to
it's
be the
midnight, so
lifeboat
I'm sorry.
syndrome.
They
Lifeboat
should have her out
situation
on every
rather,
morning show
for the
tomorrow.
Democrats.
And I think
Now,
early on, not
you're going
not
to
because
see
it was
headlines
warranted,
for the next
she was
few
not
weeks to
confident
months
in her own
kvetching
ability
about
to do an interview like the one she just did,
Kamala
or to go
were
do a round of morning shows.
front-runner.
She clearly can
If it
do
were
it.
only
She's a
Kamala,
very
if it were
strong
only
communicator.
Kamala,
And what
Kamala.
her message
That's
on
what
abortion rights to
the
Joyce Biden is
coronations are going to
exactly
be.
what she's been doing around the country.
They're going to
It just
rally
hasn't been
around
covered
her,
nationally.
Can I just say that her office should have
and they're
let her
going to
go 20
try
minutes
to do
later?
that.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
she's stuck
you only
at
get
the
one from
NDP,
the White, but no,
and
come
she's
on.
It's emblematic.
fucking
though. I
horrible
have to say,
politician.
it is emblematic of the
Let's
sad
put a
thing is
positive
that
way. Positive way would be to
they'll give
say,
you
other
10
than
minutes
these
with
things, she
her
fucking
when they
sucks.
should give you
would be
30. Because she really
she's a
needs to start
California
really trusting
politician
President Harris
through
absolutely.
and through.
To cut her
And
own
not
back.
even a good one at that.
She does very, very well, and the more you get of her, the better it is.
Look at 2028. It's
I
going to
do
be
think that
Newsom,
one of the
maybe
things we've
Harris.
seen around
who
the
she-
Roe
who's
second
gonna be
anniversary
the-
is her as the front
Oh,
runner
anybody.
on
It could be
abortion
DeSantis,
and
could
doing
be,
more events as well.
I don't know,
The other thing that
whoever
happened
the
early
VP
on, and I
will
think this
be
is key, is
for Trump.
we've actually seen her favorability rate come up, and part of that has to do with, there's this sort of cliche about like the vice president gets like the worst.
They're so pathetic
assignments,
they
and I
have to
remember
shift
thinking
over to
about this in
Kamala.
COVID, where Trump was like, "Don't
They
worry, Mike
fucking
Pence
lost.
is on it."
Over.
Clearly, like you can see the wheels turning in his head. They're like, "Oh, if he screws it up, it's on Pence,"
Only
in the
one
beginning,
candidate
he was
has
the
their
person who was the
VP's
border
endorsement. Is
person.
that your fucking? Is that your
like genuinely unsolvable problem?
hard-hitting
It is
punch,
so complicated,
Kamala?
so difficult. One person can't solve it.
Whatever.
Having her on abortion
God bless
means
her.
that you're
Don't interrupt her.
associating her with the issue that is the most 65-35
idiot.
issue that the Democrats have.
Yeah.
You have her talking about a thing that had people nodding their head because Americans agree on it. And I think we have seen it in her polling on her favorability readings, which have increased. So there's a sort of virtuous cycle happening here. She's talking about issues that are popular.
That's their whole
She's
talk.
getting out there more.
True.
It is having a positive effect
It's both of these. It's also what Lawrence was saying about the traditional role of the vice president is to take it to the opposition and to take apart the opposing candidate. Well, Democrats' two best issues right now are what's wrong with Donald Trump and abortion rights. And she's an expert at both of those things and very well placed as vice president.
And she's been attacking like crazy the
May I
last
just say,
several
to
months.
those of you
It
who
hasn't
may be
landed.
watching us from the White House right now, we would like to have more opportunity to speak with Vice President Harris and not have it be two questions
question interviews. Even if my questions have a little multi-part thing going on, I'm very sorry. All right, joining us now from the debate spin room in Atlanta is our beloved pal, former U.S. Senator Claire McCaskill of Missouri, also an MSNBC political analyst. Claire, dying to know what you thought about how things went tonight and what you've been hearing since.
I don't know anybody.
Well, first, the easy part.
I don't know any.
Donald Trump is a liar, a flawed character, mean, a jerk, very unlikable, and that was obvious tonight. Now, the hard and heartbreaking part. I have been a surrogate for some presidential candidates in my time. I know what the job is after a debate of a surrogate. I've never wanted to be a surrogate more than I do right now. Because when you're a surrogate,
I love Joe
you
Biden.
have to focus on the positives. But I have said very clearly and very plainly on this network, and my job now is to be really honest. Joe Biden had one thing he had to do tonight, and he didn't do it. He had one thing he had to accomplish, and that was reassure America that he was up to the job at his age. And he failed at that tonight. Now, does that mean that my phone blowing up with senators and campaign operatives and donors, big donors from all over the country, does that mean that Joe Biden is not going to be the candidate?
It is all skewed.
I don't know that. I think we'll know a lot more in a few weeks how this plays out, how the polling plays out.
Fucked, Claire.
But
I think your team. I think Team Blue is fucked.
Are going on right now. I think I'm not the only one whose heart is breaking right now. There's a lot of people who watched this tonight and felt terrible.
This is delicious.
For Joe Biden. And
fucking told you so.
How did we get here? How do we get to the
fucking
point
told
that
you
we're
so.
spending a whole lot of time talking about the vice president
left
instead of talking about the president? And
you cannot.
I don't know how the rest of this story is
written. You cannot
written.
Pinocchio your way into winning an election. I'm gonna mute Claire here. You cannot Pinocchio your way into an election. You cannot Pinocchio your way into the election and to win an election. What is my gut telling me right now? That's what I'm getting. Sorry, I didn't put up on the screen. I was answering. I think that the Biden campaign is fucked, and I tried to call out the Democrats when they would do this horseshit over and over and over and over and over again. And the horseshit that I'm talking about is the whole insurrection treason thing. Okay, let's just zero out the whole thing. Let's just say that Donald Trump is guilty. Let's just say that he is guilty. Let's just go with that for this fictional scenario. Let's just say that he is guilty, and he really did put democracy in danger and America in jeopardy. Let's try that on for a mental experiment. If that were true, okay, why didn't the Biden DOJ, which is just upholding the law, they're just following the law. Why did the Democrats not? Why did the Biden administration not make his AG persecute Trump for that? Bring up federal charges of insurrection against Donald Trump. Federal charges. Just that. Maybe a few other bullshit little minor things like inciting a riot or some other bullshit. Or whatever. Or maybe even this document bullshit. Maybe they could have added that on top of it. They didn't do that. They did not do that. And if it was true that Donald Trump committed insurrection, the Democrats would have been, they had their words and their actions would have matched 100%. But they didn't. They didn't do that, did they? Has Donald Trump ever been held for charges of federal insurrection? No, that has not happened. And my point, I'm elaborating here, and I'm making a point. They didn't do that, and they didn't do that because it's bullshit. What happened in reality? What just happened over the last 2-3 years? They easily could have turned around and got charges and a conviction way before this time point if they were really motivated and it was for real and insurrection and federal charges, etc. A Donald Trump that would have been convicted by a court of law in a very fair thing, very fair trial, fair jury, would have been a vastly different felony optics wise than what they got now. Because what they have is they have like too many suits out there, too many lawfare, frivolous, political based, biased kind of things. You have the Georgia DA down there playing hanky panky with their fucking co-counsel and billing the taxpayer for it, cause all kinds of bullshit because it's all a corn pone country bullshit down there. Fucking Keystone cops, as it were. Anyway, this is my point. This is my point. I said this over and over and over and over and over again when it was happening, and The Democrats have everything they deserve everything they fucking get from this thing. Anyway, all right. And just to be clear, I'm not a GOP member. I'm not a Democrat member. I'm an independent. If you had to vote tomorrow, who would be the winner based on this one debate? Donald Trump. I think he would have won. I don't think he would have. I don't know about the popular vote, but my instinct tells me that it would be way over. It would be a landslide electoral college win. What that looks like would be, it would not like translate to like, maybe like Biden still might overvote him for popular vote. But fortunately for us, the popular vote doesn't mean anything. It's the electoral college for a reason. I think it would be, I fundamentally think right now that the Biden administration has lost this election. I think that I can double down on that statement, which is a very bad thing to say nowadays when you double down on something. But all kidding aside, if the next debate, I think two things. If they put Donald Trump in a jail cell, this election is over. Donald Trump will be the president. If the Democrats allow that to happen, if they put him in a jail cell, Donald Trump will be president. Hands down. If that happens, that's one thing. But if the second debate is exactly like this, Donald Trump is going to win. Hands down. But I think those are two things. Right now, just polling, the feeling, and I talked about it earlier in the cast. An incumbent hasn't lost since GW Senior. You're right. And you know what? Biden, you know what? It would be very interesting to do some research and compare the tone and candor of that of Daddy Bush, and compare it to Biden's. But I think that Biden. I think that I actually thought the other day. I didn't write it down. You're very smart. I mean, before Trump. Yeah. No, I know. I think that's a very interesting contrast. I'll have to take that one offline and maybe write a article about it. That's a very good article. Compare GW or take Biden term one and compare it to the next nearest equivalent, like where poll numbers were soft, where everything else should be in their favor by all rights, but they, for whatever reason, the optics slipped away and it's over. I'm going to turn the sound back on here. But anyway, my point is to be a blowhard here. I mean, it is my channel. The Democrats had multiple opportunities to remedy this or to play a different game. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Granted, it is true that all that I said is very speculative and fiction. But we are in the reality that we are in. So there is just no, I don't know.
Is whether or not he is persuadable on this.
And it's okay for people who just wrote him, the guy who just asked all these donors for big fat checks for his campaign.
Yeah.
It's okay for them tonight to say, Joe, you sure you up for this?
Yeah. No, I'm not saying anyone's wrong to do it. I'm just saying that when people talk about the process,
I got it.
I just want people to be very clear that is the one dispositive question that must be answered.
Yeah.
There is no other mechanism in the real Earth one other than that, to be clear.
Well, I don't think Biden would be running.
Therefore, that makes him the decider. But I do think
I think the Democrats would be in a much better position
that go into that decision, and who
than they are today.
Are the people who are close to him who are going to be talking to him about this, and what the cases that he makes, not just to the American people, but what the cases he makes in private to his closest advisors.
I think the
who are going to be making potentially the opposite argument to him after
way
tonight.
quicker and way sharper.
But yes, there is one way.
We wouldn't have the immigration problem we have today.
But
we would fundamentally be better off,
looking at a
factually
convention
speaking,
in Chicago.
If Donald Trump
they would very much not like to be a 1968 South
and won 2020, and he was supposed to win.
Potentially facing significant protest over Gaza.
That was the general feeling.
That is a likely thing because Joe Biden's policies are not likely to change that much between now and then.
That I think
and
about.
the death toll is likely to skyrocket.
I don't think that we would be in the same world that we're in. I think that we would still have maybe the same problem with inflation.
And there are already more than 700 uncommitted delegates going into
that. It would
convention.
hurt us
They have
differently,
not
or it
Joe
would
Biden.
hurt him differently.
That is 7 times
more
uncommitted delegates than Donald Trump has. And Donald Trump was not able to completely defeat Nikki Haley.
I don't think that we would have
so
the
they're
problem
going to
with
go
Ukraine.
into that convention with, yes,
I
Joe
don't
Biden
think that
is,
we would have the problem
at this
with
point, he's the
Israel.
nominee. But
To
there
be
are
honest with
all of
you,
these X factors
Israel,
that
I
they
think
do
would have
need
been
to
over
start thinking about,
flat
to
out.
the point that Stephanie is
I think
making,
that we
because
would have
what
deployed
if
troops
delegates, one of the texts
or
that I
done
got
some
tonight was
kind
from
of
a
like
delegate
extra special
who said,
thing.
this is the substance of their text. We
I
delegates may
also
have to
think that
take
Trump
matters
would have
into our
like
own hands.
greenlit. I think he would have been
There has
much
to be an
more
alternate
aggressive
candidate. It can't just be we want
on
a Joe Biden candidate. There has to
using
be
the
a candidate
CIA
who embodies the other
like
option.
Obama
Yeah,
used
you're
the
right.
CIA and
the obvious
NSA
other person is
to knock
the
out
vice
Iran
president, but there's a
with the
lot
cyber
of question and
thing
doubt in people's
that
minds
knocked
whether
out
this
that
country would
basically
ever
made
elect
their
a black woman
machines
president or a
spin
woman,
to
period, after the Hillary
destruction.
Clinton experience. So there
I
isn't
think
a
Trump
logic
would
thing
have pulled off
happening right
something
now.
like
It's an
that,
emotional thing,
but for
but it's
Israel
real.
or on
This is
behalf of
a
Israel.
live shot right now.
Or
Is
like
this
the
live right
leaders
now?
of Hamas
Can
would
you
have
tell me?
been
Because
nuked.
there's a live shot right now. This is
Not nuked, but like
President Biden at a Waffle
I
House
think Trump would have
in
been
Atlanta.
ballsy like that for
That's
sure.
the right place to
I
be
think
after
we'd be in a
midnight.
better
I was
world
just going to
if
say,
Trump
A,
was
always
the
open. B,
had he
picture
won.
menus.
And by the way, he doesn't
My
have to do
personal
what
opinion.
Trump does,
I'm
which
so
is
tired
to
of all the
clear
lies
the
from both sides.
space,
I just want
rent it out,
I
and
just
then
want
bring in
honesty
Ben
and no more
Carson
BS.
and other black Republicans from other
Well, I
states
agree.
to come and hang out
You
with him. He can
know,
actually just
founders
walk
of
into
the
a Waffle
Constitution
House
super
like
young,
President
and they were
Obama
20,
used to. That's the
20s,
difference
30s,
between being
not over 80.
Joe
Yes, they did.
Biden, who people
Matter of fact,
understand is not
I
super
actually
hostile
went on
to black
a
people
really
and
cool
to
field
normal
trip
people
with
and
my
regular
son's
people
school.
and being Donald Trump.
Can I just ask, do we have any audio here?
Middle school trip. I'm going to omit some details, but we were able to go to Boston, and we were there for 3 days, 4 days, something like that. And it was awesome. We got to see all the sites, all original American history. It was really fucking cool. 1630 Boston.
No, it's hard to debate a liar.
I think Harvard was 1636 or 1632. I can't remember. Way fucking early. But they talked about the battles and they had a really cool Boston Tea Party. I'll have to look up the name of the museum. I'll have to make a video about it, talking about it. It was really cool. It was like it had a perfect amount of technology, but they were dressed in a certain way, and you could participate if you wanted to. It was really awesome. It was really fucking cool. It made me really proud to be American. More memories were made that day. Yes, they were. Oh God, yeah. Oh, and matter of fact, Boston is such a clean city. It's so different than St. Louis. That's my frame. But St. Louis City is kind of dirty and crime. If you're going downtown, you probably should be carrying something heavier than a wallet. CCW is legal in this. We are a freedom-loving state. We're 1850s otherwise. There's some things that are
crowded already when he got there, but this is all
cost of living is bad.
For the president. You see the camera is now giving us a nice shot of the fluorescent
what is this? Nice.
That was live, which is why we're taking it
Well,
to see if we can hear President Biden to see if he was answering any questions.
The camera
he
back
was
on
asked
here.
if he had any.
I'm going to do my last plugging of the night.
About his performance at the debate tonight, and he said it's
Thank
hard
you
to
so
debate
much
a
for joining
liar.
me if you made it this far.
I think it's hard to debate something hard to debate a liar.
On my other
inaudible and audible couldn't hear the crowd then a liar.
It is hard to debate a liar.
Wind down here. Turn the volume off. All the talking heads. I do a weekly show with Thomas. He's my co-host. We do the first last of Nerddom. We cover more lighthearted things, not culture wars, not woke, anti-woke, whatever. I did kind of put out a little opinion piece, mid-cap review of the ApeIt season, mid-season review, sort of up through episode 5 and my thoughts. I think Kaimar, who was the Sith. I think that he was. I think that he's a brother to or son of Sol, the Jedi Master, some kind of relative. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, more lighthearted content. Tom did a comic book review. Also, I did a parody music video on my personal YouTube channel in the Shorts tab, making fun of Amanda Stenberg's horrible gyrating. Like a fish flapping. I'll cover the last thing here. Why go to Waffle House? It's not like he can eat. It's too hard for his dentures. Yeah. Right. Or that it would make him incontinent for like the next 3 days because he didn't have the right amount of brand cereal. What do you think of Disney's decision to have a new director for Star Wars. I don't think it matters. Shabade Onoi or something like that is the one for the Rey movie, and then the what's the other one for the he's gonna do like a High Old Republic one. He's you know what I might shift gears here. Yeah, let me kill the stream here, and then I'll share out the thing of what I'm talking about. Upcoming Disney film directors. Transition here to well, there's Wikipedia there. Well, here, let me share my screen so we can share it. We can do it together. We can do it together. List of Walt Disney films. I'm just looking for the director of it. It's a major name brand director. Or major name director. High Republic. God damn it. Shame on me for trying to do this on the fly. Inside Out 2, Deadpool, Lilo and Stitch. Oh no. Okay, there's the Marvels that are fucking not gonna happen. Fucking Blade, never gonna happen. Moana, Avengers, Jedi Order. Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, excuse me, for the Star Wars New Jedi Order. To give respect to say her name correctly. Dave Filoni's Star Wars project, that's not gonna happen. I mean, it could. Rogue Squadron, that's not gonna happen. Aladdin 2. Where is the other one? God damn, I'm trying to find the oh man, Flight of the Navigator, don't touch that. Oh man. You know what? This is bugging me. I gotta run it down. It's that girl that everybody says is going to ruin it. Yes. Charmin. Charmin. Yeah, sorry, I had to catch up. Yeah, the 3 new ones. James Mangold. All right. If you're asking me what my biggest hope is for Star Wars, like if they were to stop everything they're doing right now, maybe do Ahsoka season 2, do Andor season 2. Those are fine. Those are fine. But James Mangold is gonna do this movie. Director and just it's one Origins of the Jedi and the Force, so he can go like way back into primitive fucking Star Wars. And if he did something like goofy as fuck that was like counter to or funny to the fandom of like perceived lore canon, whatever the fuck it is, it would work a lot easier in that context than what the Acolyte has already done. Damn it. What is that movie called? It's supposed to be, I talked about it on the show too. I covered it on our show. Damn. Well, that's producer. I'm dumb. I forget. They always do that. Dawn of the Jedi. Let me drill down to this real quick. A story that is 25,000 years before. I was wrong. It's not Old Republic. It's way before that. 25,000 years before Star Wars Episode for New Hope, as it focuses on the discovery of the Force. If you go back into expanded universe lore and you go back to the very beginnings of that, the lore is so fresh, it just might fucking work. It talks about the Rakai, this is like deep cut Star Wars bullshit. Sorry, it's not to suck. Yeah, sorry, I went on a little Star Wars rant there, but that's my honestly, I would shit can that Rey movie. Who gives a fuck? I would not do that. I would bring back Patty Jenkins, and I would let her do whatever the fuck she wanted for Rogue Squadron, because that's an easy fucking win. That's X-Wing, the Rogue Squadron. That's a fucking easy win. And I would keep them afloat. And then by the time that came out, this would be the brand new thing. This would be the thing I would put all the money on. Dawn of the Jedi. That's what I would do. I've tried getting into the new movies. They have no soul to me. Yep, nope, you're not the only one. I watched the first one, The Force Awakens. That was fun. The other one, the one where Luke Skywalker, where they killed him off. Return of the Jedi, or no, Rise of the. I can't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter. The fact that I don't remember the title is an indictment on it anyway. And then the last one, the Rey one with Kylo Ren, and they had the dyad, and he died or she died, and he brought her back, and all that. The Rise of Skywalker, I think that's what it is. That one was to this day, and I'm not saying this to be hyperbolic or anything. I cannot finish that movie. I have tried multiple times. I can't do it. I get bored. I fall asleep. I look at my phone. I'm not interested. Yeah, it was terrible. Exactly. Now the funny thing though is, I actually enjoyed Solo. People did not like Solo. And Rogue Squadron was okay. It was good. My problem, and I said this before earlier today, my problem with Disney Star Wars is the fact that it's all cul-de-sac. It's all pocket universe stories that is not connected to like a bigger, more epic story arc. We're never moving past the Star Wars. Fuck, we're not even talking about the Skywalkers. Excuse me. We're just like sitting in like some fucking pocket universe with Andor, and I'm glad that people like it, but like all those people are fucking dead. You thought the Anakin movies were bad, but those were amazing. I don't have a problem with that. I enjoyed the prequels. I think the first one, The Phantom Menace, was a little bit okay. I don't think it was anything special. But the lightsaber battles in Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones, see, I can remember those names of those movies. I only remember Force Awakens of the new ones. I don't remember the last two. I never remember the last two. But the prequels, I remember. Those were good. The last two and three were good. I liked them. Compared to like what we have today, maybe The Mandalorian season 1 and 2 were like pretty close to goodness. But and then they made The Mandalorian season 3, and then where is it at now? It's in the toilet. But you know what? If you like what you like, The Acolyte, I do not recommend. I covered the season 5 thing earlier today. I'm not going to rehash that whole thing, but basically, my whole rant against Disney is like, quit writing stories in a cul-de-sac in a little pocket dimension universe where nothing happens. Like there's no connective tissue to like a bigger, more important storyline. I'm hoping The Acolyte sucks, but I just hope that they can do something new, right? But who knows? The prequels were good. I only made it halfway through season 1 of The Mandalorian. Well, yeah. Well, the Grogu, they definitely got their win back for a while. It bought them some time, but now we're on the decline for that. But all right, I am gonna wrap this up. I'm just gonna do the last things here. My channel here, metrics. Should have had it on my channel. My channel, SofaKingJewish on YouTube. Please like, comment, subscribe. I would appreciate it if you subscribe. I do a little bit of anything and everything. I am also on ML on ApeIt.Ink on Twitter. And of course, most importantly, ApeIt.Ink on it's my website. That is my website. So I would appreciate it if you would come over here. It will hit you with a thing of asking you for your email. You don't have to give it, but I would appreciate it if you did subscribe. But I've been Mike. And hey, Wisco, thanks for riding with me the whole night. I appreciate it. Maybe we'll link up another time. I will look you up offline and subscribe. So I appreciate it. I had a pretty fun time. This is fun. I get it now. Yeah, Sofa. Yeah, that was my gamer tag for maybe another video. I'll do the origin story, but SofaKingJewish, like from Aqua Teen Hunger Forces, Sofa King, Todd, Ed. Stupid. But that's where I shamelessly copied from. All right, I have been Mike Emel. I'll see you later. Have fun.